Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
You got here just in time. Dax Milne down the sideline from Zach Wilson. And thanks for joining us. BYU touchdown, 78 yards on their opening touch of the football. First play score.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
In week one, a low snap, but handled by Vitt, and he's got Sturgis wide open for a big gain down the left sideline. Inside the 20, still going inside the 10. He'll go all the way for a touchdown.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Blitz comes. Harris steps through it and busts through to the 10, to the end zone. Touchdown, Roadrunners.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Welcome. Wednesday afternoon, we have 3 head football coaches on the show today. Brigham Young's Kalani Sitake will join us at 3:30. Jake Spavital, Texas State at 4. Jeff Traylor, head coach at UT San Antonio today at 4:30. And also we'll have John Machota on the Cowboys. Jerry Jones had a press conference today involving, I guess, is it a Bitcoin or what will you call that,
yes.
Paul? We'll get into that. It's
Blockchain.
Not even available in some parts of the state of Texas from all indications. But we will also hear from Tony Caridi. He's the voice of West Virginia, as JT Daniels, the former University of Southern Cal and Georgia quarterback, who's actually 7-0 as a starter at Georgia. He's transferring to West Virginia. The Mountaineers fans, Joey Foster sent me a text. Joey's on already the chat room. Everyone's fired up. The Mountaineers land a legitimate experience, not that many games again played, but a guy that could help give them a spark.
Well, he's 7-0 as a starter at Georgia. Now, that might not be as much him as it is Georgia, but he's better than anybody they've had for a while, and Neil Brown needs some good news, and he needs something to pick up because West Virginia has not, at least outwardly to most people, looked like they've gotten better in his tenure. And so if JT Daniels could come in and help them win games, that's a big deal. I kind of always thought it took a long time for him to make his decision. And, you know, that's his, I always kind of thought he was going to West Virginia.
Why did you think that?
I just kind of felt that was the best fit,
okay.
Everywhere else. I just kind of thought, well, I mean, that's where you're going to go and play and play the, the kind of highest stakes games. I mean, not that Missouri you wouldn't, but to me, I think West Virginia is the one that you would go in with the least amount of resistance and go play.
Yeah, I mean, he's a solid player. I mean, I don't think you could take too much away from last year. Played in less than half the season, really. 7-3 touchdown to interception ratio. The games he was in, they won basically in blowout fashion, but I think he was throwing like 10 passes a game. So last year's probably not the best barometer, but we've seen plenty of them now at this stage, and we know what the story of Georgia was last year. It was mostly about that defense. So yeah, I mean, they've got the best arm and arm talent that they've had on campus in quite some time now, and a guy who's been in the wars and a guy who's seen the the toughest of the tough in college football, playing in that SEC schedule and especially with what Georgia had to go through to get to where they ultimately went to. So, got to stay healthy, of course, is always the big thing, but he should be able to go in there and not to have much trouble winning that job and basically just taking that thing over. But great, parachute for Neil Brown, because they certainly needed it. I mean, the story of their offseason has basically been just guys leaving. So now nice to see them, adding, and especially adding a big piece like that, because West Virginia, the last couple of years at quarterback, I mean, all due respect to those who took snaps, one in particular, but that was just never – that was not good stuff. I mean, that really wasn't very good football. So this is a massive upgrade for them, and the Big 12 as well.
Oregon State, Missouri also were in the running. Guess what the common denominator at West Virginia and JT Daniels?
Graham Harrell.
Graham Harrell, the offensive coordinator, USC.
Of course.
And so there's the connection right there. There's always a connection in some particular way. And so there we go with JT Daniel. Owen on the chat room opened up. He beat Scotty B today to the buzzer. Let's go Mountaineers. Big time pickup. Hail West Virginia. So those are some of the things, and I mentioned Joey Foster as well. Joey Foster, John Kelly, hey, 365 Sports, we got a big fish. And he was talking to the other guys, West Virginia fans as well. And Scotty B, we appreciate you. Brian Etheridge, bring it, boys. And here we go with Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Would I be almost right in saying he played as many games in 2018 as he has the last 3 years?
Yeah.
That's kind of wild, right? So he played in 2018, played in 4, 8, 11 games, and obviously, varying degrees of playing time and all that. Played in 1 the following year. Played in 4 in 2020, and played in 5 last year. So he played in more games in 2018 than he has the last 3 years, and there's been all sorts of reasons for that. But I forgot about the Harrell aspect. I kind of it's funny because know his wife. She's good friends with my sister, and I know that they were really kind of getting nervous about what the future held because of the whole USC turnover, and they didn't have a spot to land. And, you figured he was going to land somewhere. It's Graham Harrell. He's going to find a spot somewhere, but it took him a little while. It did. And then Neil Brown, that was kind of out of nowhere. So, that just makes, once that sinks in, it's like, oh, yeah, of course, JT Daniels, it makes all the sense in the world.
Well, so there's that. West Virginia fans are thrilled. As you mentioned, there's been attrition, and now there's addition. And JT Daniels, their quarterback, going into at the end of spring drills as they wrap everything up in Morgantown. Will also Armstrong. I'm allowed to say this. He got engaged in Spain.
To someone he knows. Now you just go and get engaged in Spain.
Did she say yes? Did she get asked?
Yeah, she did. And you guys just busted both of my.
All right, so if y'all were watching the other day and you saw me kind of trying to get him to shut up, that's what it was about. That Armstrong had not proposed, and here he was. Were you here that day, Paul?
No, I was
Monday.
Fixing floors.
Yeah, I had the interns. They had my back. He's sitting here just dangling out that Armstrong's going to propose.
I never said propose. I just said there was no breaking news. Do we have breaking news?
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Thank you. So thankfully that got done without it being spoiled, but barely.
If you're going to have a surprise party for somebody and invite Smokey, you have to make sure that Smokey is in the car with the person. You have to surprise them both.
Yes.
You would not be able to.
Oh my God, it's a surprise party for you, and I didn't know about it.
You have to.
Listen,
you can't let him in on it.
She said yes. So, in the on deck circle, somebody else in the studio is next.
Not me.
Not me.
Jack.
No.
Congratulations.
And Levi and Emery, I need to meet them before we get any kind of relationship going with whoever you're with as well. So
yeah, I'm very much on deck.
Paul's in the on-deck circle.
I'm very much on deck.
Congratulations to Armstrong Sims.
Don't look so happy about it, Paul.
That happened.
Look, I'll tell you, Armstrong has not – I'm a methodical person when it comes to things like this.
This has not been methodical. It's been a boat race.
But as far as the things Armstrong – Armstrong's was boat race. he was
Armstrong's has been more methodical. Yours is a boat race.
No,
a lot of things have happened in the last year.
Yeah, but as to the minute that Armstrong was going to Spain to get engaged, or the minute that news reached my girlfriend, my clock started.
No, your clock was started.
And then,
I think it's
not only that, her brother and his girlfriend, like, that's also affecting my clock.
No,
like,
absolutely,
so,
and it should. And
yeah.
so we'll have breaking news with Paul probably here before the summer.
Well,
now,
I'm glad that Armstrong was able to get that
Yeah.
off without it being spoiled by anyone. So I'm thankful for that, and also congratulations to him. It's a cool deal.
It's a great deal. So we have that as well today as news. You know that coming up this weekend, the USFL, and I bring this up because Larry Fedora, former offensive coordinator at Baylor, former head coach at North Carolina, he's been at Southern Miss and elsewhere, Oklahoma State. That season starts Saturday. They launch Saturday, 8 teams. Opening game coming up on Saturday. And the XFL today, and a lot of this is college football related, announced their head coaches. And guess who's back coaching again? Bob Stoops.
Yeah, I think he kind of
Wade
liked
Phillips.
I think Bob Stoops liked the XFL gig.
I did too.
Because he could legitimately just coach football. I mean, there's no recruiting. He's not in the front office really. I mean, they have other people that kind of do that, and he just gets to walk in and call the game and coach. So, and it's a short season. It's not like he has to, get off the golf course or quit fishing any longer than he normally would.
Start next year in 2023. Wade Phillips also is a part of that. And this, of course, Dwayne The Rock Johnson is the one who's running this thing as well. And so that's going on. So there's
other
a couple
huge
of these
names.
Yeah.
Terrell Buckley, Hines Ward, Rod Woodson, Jim Haslett,
Reggie Barlow, Anthony Beck, who we've had on the show, in fact, by the way.
Yeah, I heard Eric Bieniemy got an interview for the Dallas franchise.
Oh, my God. Greg. Stop.
What's
I wonder
a joke?
if he did.
Yeah.
I have
No,
the
of course
most
not.
random stat. I want to do this. And by the way, Tony Caridi, West Virginia broadcaster, will join us here in just a second. Paul, you ever heard of Stephen Kwan?
I had not until a week ago.
All right. He's with the Cleveland Guardians.
Yes.
In a game on Tuesday, they won 10-5. He reached base 3 times. He has now reached base in 5 games as a major league debut. 18 times, a major league record. 24-year-old has yet to strike out. Now, this, I believe, included last night. I could be wrong. In fact, he has not yet swung and missed at a pitch.
Yeah, he's a contact hitter. He's really good. It's been so far. It's
early.
It's early, but when you gotta look, I'll just compare it to Ichiro. The Mariners got a lot better when all of a sudden, more than 1 out of 3 times, really, statistically, the leadoff runner, and really his on-base percentage early on in his career was almost 400. So, 4 out of 10 times, he's on base.
4 out of 10 times, and usually about 2 out of every 3 times he's on base, it's a double because he could steal a ball, steal a base as well. And most of the time, anything that was not a line drive, he could turn into a double and stretch it as well. So those are some of the stories off the top. We will hear again, as I mentioned, Tony Caridi on West Virginia and JT Daniels. So we'll break after Tony Caridi and before we hear from Kalani Sitake, the head coach at Brigham Young. So those are some of the stories today. Also, Baycott, North Carolina, has made the decision. The North Carolina center, inside star, he's going to come back for another year at North Carolina. So a huge deal for North Carolina. He was a guy that they put a lot on his shoulders. And, of course, he got hurt a couple of different times at the end, lost in the game with Kansas in the championship game, but he's coming back for another year. So there's a college basketball note as well.
I would think that he's got some good NIL money coming his way.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he was probably not going to be a lottery pick this year. So, it makes sense to come back. But now it doesn't make you have to make that decision and then kind of wander through the wilderness.
Yeah, well, he wasn't a first-round pick.
Yeah.
He's going to be a second-round guy based on the drafts that were out there. Maybe that's shifted from when I last saw it. But, what do we know about the second round of the NBA draft? It doesn't mean you're in the NBA, really. It means you're in the NBA for, maybe a few weeks, but it doesn't mean you're sticking around. And it certainly doesn't mean you're on the roster the following season. So, if you're not guaranteed anything, what's the point? Just to go make a quick buck? Yep. You can make a quick buck in college now. So that's what I think is going to be interesting for basketball in particular, and maybe to some extent football. You could take a pay cut in so many ways by going to the pros,
especially with NIL,
especially Baycott.
Yeah.
What's he getting? Hey, how much money are you getting for being a second round pick versus being the star on North Carolina? So that's the difference that NIL makes right there. And I'm kind of tired of just hearing the words and not the topic, but just tired of hearing about it. But that is a prime example of he's going to probably make more money in college next year than he would have made by going pro.
If he would have made a team.
If he would have made a team.
Which is always, you never know about that transition.
And
Tony,
if he had gone to some G League or whatever, then he's getting treated better at North Carolina than he's getting treated wherever, Dallas or something like
Tony
that.
Caridi, voice of West Virginia, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Tony, thanks for your time. We have some West Virginia fans who watch our YouTube channel. They're fired up on our chat room right now. How about the news of JT Daniels giving West Virginia a nice little spark?
Super news. 109 days since Christmas, and West Virginia got a late present. This is exactly what people had been hoping for, and certainly good. West Virginia right now is in the midst of spring ball, almost done, a week to go, and has three freshmen, or have three quarterbacks, none of which have starting experience, a really young group back there. And so to get someone with Daniel's credentials and the ability that he has shown is a huge boost.
How big was was this pretty much Graham Harrell sealing this deal for them?
I think so. I don't necessarily know if he's here if Graham Harrell's not here. JT's dad has said specifically that the fact that Graham was here and that relationship when the two crossed paths at USC back in 2019 had a lot to do with it. The offensive continuity he will understand and will be able to at least get in there day number one and have a familiarity with this offense. So I think, to answer your question, it probably was a huge piece to it.
Tony, there's no secret that the West Virginia offense has been a bit lethargic now for a while. And so when they hired Harrell, it kind of seemed out of nowhere, really, but it seemed like a bit of a splash, especially those in the Big 12 region. What has the relationship been like so far? What has been noticeable, if anything, just in terms of the offense's confidence, the style, and how they're doing it?
Still super early, still really super early, guys, as you know. So he got here, probably December-ish. And so they've just been on the field here for 3 weeks. I think what he inherited, we've been building an offensive line really since Neil's been here. When Neil got here, it was as depleted as I've ever seen it. And so that has been a 3-year build, and now finally we've got all of the pieces back on the offensive line, and they've got the chance to be solid. The same deal with the receivers. When Neil first got here, we were forced to use guys that just weren't ready yet. Now those guys, for the most part, are back and intact. So the answer to your question is I think Graham inherits pieces, and the big question was, who's going to throw it to them? And so today's news at least puts a different spin on that, at least you got a guy that's going to go in there and compete for this job now that's played a good amount of football. And really, guys, it's so badly needed because West Virginia plays an extremely difficult schedule. I think we may be one of only two Big 12 teams that plays two Power Fives. We open the season at Pitt. They pretty much return intact with the exception of the quarterback spot, but they've got a USC transfer. Their whole O-line's back. They got a Bolitnikoff winner at receiver, and we also go on the road to Virginia Tech. So the month of September is going to be a super challenge, and so to get someone, if in fact JT becomes the starting quarterback, you really needed that to go out on the road and to play high level of competition right off the start.
How big of a boost was this for Neil Brown personally, given that the transfer portal has not been his best friend the last couple of seasons, and they've lost a lot of volume, and not to mention talent, into the transfer portal the last couple of seasons, and he kind of needed a win here.
I agree. I think the ultimate answer is going to be at the end of the season. We'll tell you how big this one was. But no, you're right. I mean, for various reasons, and I'll be honest with you guys, I'd probably say 75 to 80% of those kids that have been in the portal certainly haven't transferred up. They've gone down. So if it's anything, it's been some misses. And guys realize, and you guys see it too, you guys realize they're not going to be able to play at that level. So I think perception and reality are a little bit different, but there's been some key losses. We had Akeem Mesidor, an all-conference kid who I think is going to be in the NFL, or starting nose guard, leave within the last 2 weeks. And so there have been some pretty surprising departures, and I think I heard you guys before I came on talking about NIL and things like that. And I think that, as you guys know, this is as wild as it's ever been because there are no rules. And so I think we got tampered with and picked away a couple of times. And so that's the world you're living in now. And I think that West Virginia, with today's news at least, will get a little bit more of a positive step.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it, Tony. You got picked they got picked away with the NIL, and you got the transfer portal, which on top of that, and it's people. Some people love it. Some people think it's a mess, and then you wonder if it's ever going to be corralled in any way.
And I don't think you have to be all the way in or all the way against. I think you can find some middle ground, Tony, right? And hey, it's great they have opportunities, but that doesn't mean it should be open gates for people to just come in and try to pull them off your football team.
No, and you guys know football, so you know it always has been done in some form and fashion. However, I do think that we'll quickly see here in the next month or so, new rules will come out where I think they're going to set up 2 specific windows of time where players can enter their names into the portal to try to get some balance to this thing. And I also think that schools will be allowed to recruit as many as they need to get their number to 85. Because, if you're a program out there and all of a sudden you lose 10 or 12 kids out of the portal, I mean, you would be forever climbing back up. I mean, you guys, not all that long ago, right? You went down scholarships when the whole deal happened there. We've been in a situation as well where you're so far under scholarships that you can't make it up even if they do give you 25. And so I do think there needs to be a rule that you can get as many as you need up to that number of 85 to try to put some balance into this thing. And I also think this, guys, that, I think we're at the peak of the transfer portal. I don't think in 5 or 6 years as many kids leave, because at some point the message will come down. The grass isn't always greener, and we're seeing kids stuck, and we're seeing kids not find places to go. I saw a great line last week. I don't know who it's attributed to, but they said, the grass is always greener, especially for the other person that's spreading the fertilizer on the other side. And, in other words, yeah, it looks greener because they're putting a lot of that fertilizer on the other side. And at some point, people are going to realize, hey, guess what, man? That ain't green grass. That's just a bunch of crap over on the other side. And so you got to step back, and I hopefully that will lead to at least some more thought and some more understanding of, hey, you know what, you probably are in a pretty good shape. I mean, these deals, and I don't want to run over your time, but these deals continue to get better for the student athletes. WVU announced this week, and you guys probably have or will. As long as you're in good academic standing, you'll receive a check for $5,980 each year. So, I mean, that's $24,000 over the course of 4 years. So you get a free scholarship. You get $24,000 just for being academically eligible. I mean, okay, pretty doggone good deal. And I think that hopefully this will add some stability and stop this craziness of just running all over the place, sometimes trying to get to an oasis that doesn't exist.
I would also think, Tony, that in the next 5 years, there'll probably be a NIL market correction, at least slightly, to where you're paying for achievement and not potential.
Yeah, I think so too. And again, we get the same thing on our talk show every night. I'm sure we all talk about the same stuff. But I think there's also a misperception that every student athlete is receiving or should receive NIL, and I don't think that's the case at all. I talked with the person, in the administration side of things, and the number is about 15% right now. So it's not this massive number of people. I think about, if these kids get 80% that aren't going to be NIL recipients and perhaps don't warrant NIL money, but you're still going to get $6,000 just for doing your deal and being academically eligible. That's really good. Like, take it and move on. So we'll see.
Tony, Anthony Beck was named as one of the coaches in the XFL. We mentioned that. That's a West Virginia guy, right?
Oh, absolutely, buddy. He's a Philly guy, but married a West Virginia girl. In fact, I had the honor of announcing his engagement at midfield when he proposed to his wife many, many, many years ago. He brought her out to the middle of Mountaineer Field, took a knee on the flying WV, and told her he had to be there for some pictures and things or autographs for some kids and proposed to her. So he's a fantastic guy. He's been wonderful, great blue-collar story coming into this program. He was a receiver that weighed about 170, 175 out of high school, became a tight end and left here like 260, and is wonderful, and he'll do a great job. His son, in fact, guys, I don't know if you know this, his son is a true freshman quarterback at Iowa State.
Oh, I did not know that. Okay. Playing for Matt Campbell. Okay. All right, great.
Yeah.
Tony, I know there's some excitement already over with the backyard brawl getting back together, but an extension to that as well now, right? 8 of the next 11 seasons, I think they'll be playing. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep, they announced that today. They added 4 more years onto the contract. And, guys, geographically, I don't know if people are totally familiar, might be surprised if you've not been up in this area, but it's 75 miles from Pittsburgh to Morgantown. And so it truly is the backyard brawl, and it's the oldest rival that WVU has had. And because of the conference reorganization, the series fell off. And so, yeah, I think it's good. I think our fans love it. I don't necessarily, personally, I don't like at all playing both Tech and Pitt in the same season. I have no problem with doing one or the other. I think that's good. For our Southern fans, they love the Tech rivalry is huge for them. For the Northern fans and for everybody else, the Pitt rivalry is big. But I'm really happy that it will continue, and it's good overall.
So, Tony, in closing, we started talking about JT Daniels at the beginning. How much does this – I know the schedule's tough, but how much does this change, not the fortunes necessarily, but just the overall feeling heading into next season for West Virginia and its fans?
I think it's huge, guys. I mean, it's huge. We've lost our mojo. We've lost our mojo, and this staff is fantastic. And they have just, for whatever reason, you go back to COVID and you just go back to a break here or there. They have not had a lot of good luck at all. And so super happy for those guys because I think that they will be successful here. And to add JT into that mix, I think is exactly what they needed. And time will tell, but it's huge. People are bouncy that this has happened.
Hey, Tony, thank you. I know you have a busy schedule in the afternoon with what you're doing. Appreciate your time and great news today for West Virginia. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure, guys. Nice to be with you. Take care.
You too. That's Tony Caridi, voice of West Virginia Athletics on JT Daniels and the transfer from Georgia to West Virginia. When we come back, Brigham Young head coach Kalani Sitake next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
At Allen Samuels, the new 2022 Wagoneer Series 2 and 3 has 2.9% for 72 months, plus $3,000 in bonus cash. All first responders get an extra $500 or take 0% for 72 months. Shop this incredible vehicle that gives you performance, style, perfect for your family, and reliability your family deserves. Today from Allen Samuels in Waco. Come shop their huge new car and truck inventory.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm welcome home.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 Radio app is sponsored by Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
He has become a mainstay of this show. Brigham Young and Baylor played last year. They'll play September the 10th, a Saturday, in Provo this fall. And Kalani Sitake, the head coach at Brigham Young, joins us, Sikkim 365 Radio. Coach, thank you very much for your time. I know you spring drills and all of that. Do you feel good about where you are and where you've been and what you've gotten done?
Yeah, of course. I mean, thanks for having me on, by the way. And I'm just really excited about this team and what we were able to accomplish with the 15 practices in spring ball. I think every coach should say that around this time, but really feel good about the progress that we've made from the end of the season to now, but also looking at getting some guys healthy and getting the team rolling in the off-season conditioning. We'll go through fall camp. It'll come up real quick, and we'll be on the 22 season, so looking forward to it.
This is your last season not being a part of the Big 12, so I imagine that's changed recruiting a little bit. How have you seen your Venn diagram change of kids that would go to BYU if you could have had the opportunities of being in a Power 5 conference, and knowing that now every kid in the 2023 class on is a Big 12 player when they come in?
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge bump for us in recruiting. More than anything, opens more ears and kind of widens the net for us in recruiting, where now players are interested, especially from the Midwest area and down there in Texas. These guys are really interested in what we stand for and what our program is about, looking into our culture, kind of taking a deep dive and interest and curiosity into our program. And when they do that, it allows us an opportunity to share what our place was about and what our team is about, and then hopefully it'll be a good fit. I think sometimes recruiting can turn into a sales pitch when it doesn't really have to be that way. For us, it's about the fit, getting young men that will fit our program, that they want to be part of something bigger than themselves, and it's right in line with the mission, the values of what we're trying to get accomplished here as a program and as a university.
Coach, you guys had a great year last year. I mean, 10-3. Had 2 different 5-game winning streaks, and some tough games. But when you got a moment after the season, eventually to catch your breath and kind of sit down and start analyzing things, what were just sort of your overwhelming or general thoughts on the 2021 season?
great learning experience for all of us. I mean, I think looking through the experience of being an example is coming out there to Waco and playing the game against Baylor. We learned a lot about ourselves, but also a lot about what it takes to compete against a great team like Baylor. And obviously, look at what they did. They went on to win the conference. And so it gives you a boost of confidence knowing that, if we'd have done a little bit better and we played a little bit better, things have gone more our way. That's what you have to do. That has to be a given in order to compete with these great teams like Baylor and conference champions and teams that are at P5 level, but in the higher echelon of performance. And so, sometimes the given norm, the standard has to be raised a little bit, where you can't just make mistakes and think you're going to get through it and find a way out of it. Sometimes you need to just be a little bit more on point and make sure that those mistakes aren't happening as often as they were. But you give the experience of being there and being on that field and being in that environment, hostile environment. But it was really cool. I thought for the most part our players enjoyed the experience of playing there, and even for the point of being on the field and competing against great players. Just when you play against teams that can beat you, and you have to be at your best, you definitely learn something regardless of the result. And it'd be foolish of me not to capitalize on the opportunity for us to learn as much as possible.
How much does it help, despite the obvious, when you have Jaron Hall, your quarterback, coming back?
Yeah, that helps. I mean, we knew losing Zach was going to be a huge. We tried to convince him to stay, but being selected second overall is a good reason to leave. But we know Jaron's coming back, so that's good. But we knew going into the season that we'd feel good about Jaron. We feel good about our talent, and the only thing that was lacking was really the experience. So. After the 2021 experience, I feel good about what's returning to our program, but I also feel the need and the urgency to make sure that we close the gap on our depth from the first string to second string to third string. You need more than just the 11 starters on offense and 11 starters on defense. They definitely need more than 22 guys. So the more starters we can get that are ready and available to play, the better we'll be suited for these tough teams, especially going into the Big 12 Conference.
How many of your players are really kind of football nerds, football geeks when it comes to being able to absorb as many different, because you're an independent, so your schedule is never, you play some of the same teams all the time, but not like in a conference like you will, where you kind of have the same, you get to know people. For 4 years, you could maybe only see the same team twice, a couple times, and you have to take in all these different styles and learn all these things. How many guys do you have that are really invested and know that because of the schedule you have to play and throwing different curveballs at them each week?
Well, I think it's kind of fresh and fun and exciting. And when you're in the independent scheduling, you have no choice but to make it a positive, right? And you say, hey, this year we're going to play a bunch of different new teams, and these are the three teams that we played the year before that will show up on our schedule again. You just have to spin it to where it works in our favor. Now, this is our last year in independence. We're going in to finish up this 22 season. It's a tough schedule, but it has a lot of people that are on there that we have to be at our best for all 12 of these opportunities that we have to play and represent. So, looking at that, I know from my point of view, when you're used to being in a conference and just being familiar with the place. So when we go back and play in Waco, the guys that are young on our team have that experience of playing there in 21. And so now they can visualize what that field looks like, what the locker room feels like. And when it's all kind of brand new, sometimes you don't know any better. When you walk into a place like Knoxville, Tennessee, some of the guys are just kind of, because they're naive to it, they just don't know anybody. You just show up and you play, and before you know it, they don't realize that they played in a historic place and they actually grinded out a double overtime win. Now we know what to expect. We can kind of give these guys something, a visual, kind of look at the schedule that you can see from the future. It doesn't change too much other than the non-conference games, which is just a few. But the excitement and energy, that's been part of our program and our fan base for the entire time. So we're going to always lean on the excitement, the energy, the passion that we feel from our fans. And we want to do our best to make sure that our fans are happy. And I want to do my best to make sure that our players achieve and reach their goals and their dreams here at BYU.
What's it like to have practices and not have a familiar face in Tyler Algier back there at running back? And I know you've got some veterans, so how has that room started to work out for you?
Well, change is always going to be different, and sometimes in when you're looking at college football, that's just attrition. You lose guys to the league, and some leave earlier than and don't use all their eligibility. But that's usually a good sign when guys are having opportunities and leaving early and getting to the league. And we're doing our best to get them to leave with a degree in their hand. With that extra COVID eligibility, most of these young men are going to graduate with their degree already done. And so a lot of our players are going to have their degree completed by the time we get to the season this fall. And that gives them a lot of confidence going into the season that way. But, when you have guys that are not part of the team, it's always changes an opportunity for someone to step up, make a huge impact, and have the coaches to just kind of catch the coach's eye and seeing that, hey, this guy could really help fill the void of a Tyler Algier and other players, So we know we're going to miss a lot of our veterans that left, but we're a young team, so we have most of our returning experience coming back. That's something we can really build on. And for the running back crew, a lot of carries now have to be divvied out and have to be earned in practice and competition. And that's made for a really interesting spring. Hopefully it carries on the offseason and goes into fall camp.
Kalani, how much time do you spend, if any at all, right now on the Big 12? As you do still have a year to go, as everyone has mentioned, the questions we've asked you, but how much time do you spend on that, if at all?
Well, I mean, we have to embrace it because that is part of the deal. We are going into the conference. We're excited about it. But I have to focus on the task at hand, which is this season. Mm-hmm. We are playing Baylor. They're coming to Provo. We did lose to them last year, so we're looking to try to have an improvement from our showing. And I thought it was, competitive game up until the end. I think they won by a couple scores, but we should be motivated by that game and competing against, Grimy and Mateos again. But I think we've learned quite a bit from that. But I want our guys to embrace the opportunities that are going to the Big 12, but I also want them to respect the fact that there's a lot of young men on our team that are going into their senior year, going to their junior year, that they're going to be leaving after this year. And the respect means that we show them the love and appreciation for them by what we accomplished this year. But we're also in a time where we know what we're going in tomorrow, which is next year. I can tell you one thing, my bracket completely changed because there's a lot of Big 12 pride here with what we're trying to get done. So we're rooting for them. And so, my Final Four might have had way more Big 12 representation than I would normally have, and so I have to say that I did pick the champion, but I had a lot of, I'm looking at it. You look at the Big 12 and Baylor won that last year. You got Kansas this year, and you had, that's a monster division when it comes to athletics altogether, especially basketball. But I know that there's a lot of fans that were excited and I've felt it from Cougar Nation that they're really excited to be part of this conference, and you can see it in the way that they kind of cheer for the Big 12 conference to have a lot of success, and even if their team's not in the mix.
Do you guys go anywhere on the road where you don't expect to at least have enough fans to where you notice? Because there are fan bases that can't get all the places that your fans can. Just from the game here, I was overwhelmed driving in and seeing just as many BYU people as were here in Waco last year.
Yeah, I think it's always comforting knowing that our fans are going to show up, and it could be the nosebleeds way at the top of the area. They're going to be there. Even to give you some idea of what our fans and how awesome they are, we played against Boise, where fans were not allowed in the arena, in the stadium, and yet when we're driving from our hotel to the game, we had thousands of fans on the side of the streets cheering us on just on the drive. So we have a passionate fan base. They've always been big time. I'm looking forward to trying to make their dreams and their hopes and their expectations come true, and that's my job. But I am a fan as well, and it's just really, really happy. I'm really happy to be a part and honored to be a part of Cougar Nation, and our respect and appreciation, gratitude for a fan base that shows us appreciation, even when they can't enter the arena. They're just there to do their part, and I think this move of us getting to the Big 12 is a huge compliment to our fan base more than anything.
Coach, we can almost do, and anybody who covers college football almost do daily shows on stuff that has nothing to do with what's actually going on the field nowadays. I mean, just between, NILs and recruiting and all those different types of things, it's a ever-changing world in college sports. You obviously love college sports, but when you look at it and you look at the future, is there a main concern that you have, or if you had the opportunity, if there was something that you could change, do you have anything in mind?
Well, I think the key is for our focus to be completely on the a couple things, to be on the young men and what's best for them in their transition. Right now, we have young men that are the young people are in college are going from their youth into a transition to becoming an adult, and our responsibility is to make sure to teach them and educate them to do that when they enter the world and the communities, to have a good footing and a good foundation in place. Sometimes money is not the answer when you just throw it at a bunch of young people. But being fiscally responsible, understanding finances, understanding how you can help people and how you can serve others is an avenue that I think we can approach here at BYU, and that other people should approach in college football. I think there's an opportunity for student athletes to get paid and be taken care of, but I don't know if you need to be having these fat bank accounts. I think sometimes you have to figure things out, and there's nothing wrong with budgeting and having a small bank account and going to college, but I also don't think you should have student debt. When you're a big time athlete, that we can do our best to take care of them. So I think if we can give them education, it doesn't really have to come in the form of money. It can come in the form of future financial stability and giving them something to work on. Maybe it's investments, maybe it's early retirement. There's a lot of things out there that we can educate these young men on, these young student athletes, in regards to NIL. But as long as there's stuff moving and there's innovation going on, we have to adapt with the times, but we also can take a different approach. I believe college football should stay at an amateur level, but I also believe that there's a way we can make it work for everybody, specifically the student athletes involved.
We had you on last year when you had that contract extension, and you made it about everything but you, because it all is about the program itself. I'm not so sure who was more humble after an extension, you or Dave Aranda, who probably never wanted his even announced. You're very similar in many, many ways, aren't you?
Well, I've known Dave for a long time, and we knew each other when we were nobodies, and we still are nobodies. But I think the one thing that I appreciate about Dave Aranda is that his focus is on people, and I've known him a long time. I see what he's done, and he stays extremely humble. It's always going to be good times for people when you can have wonderful people keeping you in check. I think for me, I never got here on my own, so why would I ever think it's about me? And then, college football should never be about one person. So why would it be about one coach? Why would it be about one player? We're all in this together. And listen, Dave Aranda didn't get into this for money, neither did I. And it just happens that we're having success. Things are going well for us. But the emphasis and the focus will always be on the student athletes, and then embracing it and enjoying the wonderful spectacle of college football. I just love being involved with college football and seeing the fan bases, even on opponents. I love being out there. When we came and played Baylor, I thought that was such a cool experience and a lot of fun. Even though the result didn't go our way, there's a lot of things that you can really take away from that, and I'm just honored to be a part of it. I know Dave is the same.
Kalani, we appreciate your time. You've given it a lot of it to us the last month since September. Thanks for your time. Hope to have you on that week soon before you play Baylor. And thanks for your time. Have a great rest of the school year.
I'd love to be on. Thank you for the time.
Yeah,
Thank
you too. That's Kalani Sitake, head coach at Brigham Young. Baylor last year, 38-24. First time back in 1984 was 47-13.
Yeah.
Baylor's won twice and Brigham Young's won once.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who will be favored in that game by the time it rolls around. I mean, at this point, to put out predictions, I mean, there's some that obviously you can probably go down Alabama's schedule and feel pretty confident picking a bunch of wins. You can go down Baylor's schedule and probably feel confident picking out 5, 6, 7 wins or something like that. But, yeah, I don't know with that BYU game. I mean, with it being on the road, that will be very interesting. But it was a competitive game until Baylor just kind of made a couple extra plays to create some separation, and then that defense, once they get a bit of a lead, it's really hard to do much about that. So that was a fun game, and I'm sure round 2 will be fun as well. But with them playing that non-conference schedule, the entire schedule is a non-conference schedule. I mean, before they even hit October, mid-October, they will have played Notre Dame, Oregon, and Baylor. Notre Dame, Oregon, and Baylor before October, and not to mention South Florida in there and Wyoming in there and Utah State in there. But, yeah, they play Baylor at home, and then they go to Eugene the very next week. So that'll be an interesting little 2 weeks there for BYU football, but a fun 2 weeks.
I mean, you can't say their schedule is going to actually get a little easier.
Yes,
when it comes to the Big 12, because nobody in the country would do Baylor, Oregon, and I'm leaving out Utah State, who's their rival. Notre Dame, Arkansas, Boise State, and Stanford.
Yeah, there's not many. Notre Dame's about the only one that might have something similar to that. And you have some of those rivalry games as well. I agree. Yeah. So that game is on September the 10th, I think it is, up in Provo. And, oh, by the way, on SicEm365.com, Brian Etheridge is working with a group about a trip deal where it's a 2-night stay, I believe, in Provo, and there's all sorts of activities and events and all that, and food and tailgating and drinks and all what you want. Go to SicEm365.com in the premium section for that information. When we come back, baseball today almost had a perfect game, but didn't. We'll come back with that, and it's an argument about did the Dodgers do it right with Clayton Kershaw. And then at 4 o'clock, Jake Spavital, head coach at Texas State. Jeff Traylor today at 4:30 at UTSA. SicEm 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse.
house. Full-service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Erie Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Thanks to Kalani Sitake, Jake Spavital, head coach at Texas State, in the next hour, at the top of the 4 o'clock hour, then Jeff Traylor, UTSA. So in baseball today, the Dodgers beat the Twins 7-0. Clayton Kershaw had a perfect game through 7 innings. They pulled him. He'd thrown 80 pitches. Now, Kershaw's had issues at times, of course, like most pitchers, with injuries and issues. He had a perfect game, 6 outs to go, and only thrown 80 pitches, and they pulled him.
You can blame this on the lockout. Shorter spring training, he's still kind of getting going, and he was very mellow about it. It's big picture. He's like, yeah, big picture, guys, big picture. But it's the only thing he hasn't done. He's won 1 million Cy Young Awards. He's won a World Series. He's won an MVP. I mean, he's done everything you can. I mean, he will be the next Hall of Fame pitcher for sure. If you want to pick out a pitcher from this area who's going to the Hall of Fame for sure, it's Clayton Kershaw. He has not thrown a perfect game. So this one kind of stings for baseball fans, I think, a little bit.
Yeah. Greg?
I mean, I don't know Clayton Kershaw's health, currently. And I don't know if maybe there was more going into it than just, we got to save his arm, blah, blah, blah. Like maybe there's something more pressing in terms of, not so much the long term, but short term, maybe what that does with no spring training. I don't know, but yeah, it was only 80 pitches and he had 2 more innings to go. So I don't get it. I mean, I don't, just as a casual baseball fan, I wish they would have given him the opportunity. It's like Jeff Passan said earlier, there's been, some ungodly number of no-hitters, but there's been 23 perfect games. There's been hundreds of no-hitters, but 23 perfect games. So you're talking the elite of the stats that are out there and available to earn, and Clayton Kershaw's never done it before. So here he is with a prime opportunity to do it, and right there for the taking. And, I mean, look, he could have been back out there and gotten the 95 pitches and given up a solo shot or something. But, at least he would have given it a go. I think it does suck that he was kind of robbed of the opportunity. I don't know if there was more to it, if he had a say in it or anything. But, yeah, that sucks. I mean, I know he's saying, or I guess he's fine with it, but I don't know. I would have liked the opportunity, at least seen if I could do that, because who knows if he's ever in the position again, this much of a position again, to be able to try and accomplish it.
Jack McKenzie in the break said, maybe if it was 80 pitches or a 90-something pitches or whatever, and if he comes out of the 8th inning and walks a guy, and next thing you know, then you could do it at that particular time. You never know when that one moment happens, but that's the case if he had thrown 50 pitches or 110. When we come back, Baylor, remember early on last year, had Texas State, and they struggled. Texas State, Baylor play the 3rd game of the year this year, and we're going to hear from their head coach, Jake Spavital, next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. If I told you you could get what you need with the best in equipment and also save a lot of money, no matter what I'm discussing, would you be interested? Ideal MRI in the Central Texas marketplace can do both of those things for you. They have a state-of-the-art technology MRI machine. I've been in it. It is phenomenal. It will get the pictures and the evidence you need if your doctor or you want to know more about why you hurt. Your shoulder, your back, your knee, whatever it is. Even, of course, MRIs of your abdomen to see if you have anything going on there. It doesn't need to be going on there. And especially if you're an older guy and you start to have issues or you're concerned about PSA or prostate cancer. Ideal MRI, $497 or less every single time that you have an MRI, and it can be less, and the average is $1,100. An incredible place. Dr. Rob Maxey and his staff will take care of you. They'll open up. They'll go wait for you. If you're, I don't get off till 5, I can't get away, they'll be there for you. They'll schedule around your schedule. How about that for customer service? IdealMRI.com in the Central Texas marketplace, just off Highway 35 in the Loop in Waco.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. Cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
All right, we're back. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports, and we're joined by, again, the head coach at Texas State, Jake Spavital, joins us on 365 Sports YouTube as well. Coach, thanks for your time. We appreciate it. We had you on a year ago. You opened the year with Baylor and played them dead to rights in that game. And then eventually, of course, the season went on. This is your fourth year at Texas State. What are your thoughts now as you're wrapping up your spring?
You know, I think this is for the first group where we finally got all the pieces kind of working together. You know, I think the depth of our team is finally where I want it to be. You know, we've had some kind of unfortunate injuries and some COVID issues over the past couple of years, like a lot of teams have. But, you know, I've got a lot of experience coming back because I had to play a lot of different bodies. But, you know, it's been kind of a unique time, as we all know, on how you recruit and how you just kind of develop these players. And I'm feeling pretty good about this team on just terms of where the culture's going and where the X's and O's sides of it is going, and just especially from a recruiting side. So very excited for this year, especially after coming through a pretty solid spring football with 0 injuries. So I'm always pleased with that.
Well, Coach, one of the things you did was lean. I mean, you leaned as hard into the portal as anybody has to build your roster. How did that change your focus on building through the portal and not necessarily going high school kids, especially given where you felt your team was at that moment and that you wanted maybe some more veteran guys as opposed to high school guys?
Yeah, that was the deal. Like in 2019, I could only bring in 7 guys. And we lost around 45 guys just due to seniors and everything. So we knew we had to get some experience in here. And, you know, just we sat down as a staff. We kind of talked it through. We knew that the transfer portal was going to be an issue. I sit on all the NCAA committees as well about, you know, where the direction of recruiting is going. And you know, I thought our staff handled it very well in terms of building our roster. And, you know, kind of what we did a year ago, a lot of the group of 5, really the entire group of 5 is doing what we did a year ago with the transfer portal. But we don't have to develop, we don't have to go into the transfer portal as hard this year because we didn't have very much attrition. We didn't have very many people leave our program. So, you know, we've been pretty calculated with, you know, all right, we need some developmental guys here. We need to bring in some high school kids in this position. We need to get a portal guy right here. And the thing is, too, like, you know, the portal deadline is May 1st, so there still could be a lot of movement with a lot of people's rosters. So we're aware of that. And, you know, we just got to make sure we're talking it through and working together as a staff and making sure that we're building the roster the correct way with a lot of depth and spreading the classes out as best as we possibly can.
What's it like sitting on those recruiting committees these days?
Oh, man, I'm telling you, the fascinating ones get kind of to the Power 5 and the name, image, likeness deals. You know, that's when the heated arguments occur.
Yeah.
You know, the group of 5 is kind of still in that kind of that gray area where there's some schools going into the name, image, likeness deals and hitting the portal hard. Some don't have to, but then there's also ones that don't believe in the philosophies of that. And you just kind of sit there and you listen and you learn from everybody's mistakes and you try to do what's right for your university. The thing that I have, kind of figured out is that every single university has different circumstances.
Right.
Everybody's different. The way you recruit, the geographical areas, the needs at that time, maybe a coaching change has occurred or whatever has happened. So, you sit there and you listen to their side of the argument or their side of their story, and you're like, you know what, that's exactly what I'd probably done if I was at Penn State or if I was at UNLV. So it's kind of interesting listening to everybody else's perspective when it comes to all the ever-changing climate of college football right now.
So you guys had the spring game in the books as of a few days ago. Now that you come out of it, and I guess you start to kind of analyze everything that y'all did and start to look forward, what were kind of your prevailing thoughts on where you stand as a football team right now, perhaps your biggest strength and where you need to kind of keep chipping away?
Yeah, I think we got to keep chipping away across the board. I still think we're developing this program and building this program, but I've been impressed with the offensive line throughout spring football. I think our receiver core, we've got everybody coming back, and we've added a couple of additions to that. That's the thing. From an offensive standpoint, I feel like we've got a ton of experience. The defensive side, we're starting to add more numbers. We're starting to add just more defensive backs and more, D linemen. We still need a lot more D linemen. We still need a lot more defensive backs, but we're better than what we were last year. But overall, I think that offensive line it's been the most impressive to me because we finally got depth. Now, a lot of that has to do with COVID and unfortunate injuries because I have nine offensive linemen that have played games for me and started games for me, and then I brought in 2 transfers as well that have started over 20-plus games. So there's just a lot of depth there, and if you do get injuries, which they do occur, we have some moving parts, and I feel comfortable with that offensive front.
Your third game this year is at Baylor. You opened up with them a year ago. When you played them that night down in San Marcos, did you see what they could become and who they did become at the end of the year?
I thought they were really good. I was sitting there talking our kids were pretty focused on how well of a program and how well coached they are and the depth that they had. I thought that defense that we went up against, they were just salty across the board. We threw that pick six on the second drive of the game, and I told them, I was like, listen, they're athletic, man. And Petrie came off the edge and was very disruptive. And the way they're coached with Ron Roberts and Dave Aranda, I'm telling you, I've got a ton of respect for that defensive side. But just also the addition with how they were running their offense last year. It's very efficient. They complement each other very well. We knew it's going to be a challenge. I knew there was no surprise to me that they went to the Sugar Bowl. And, I think what Coach Aranda's done, I've been around him for a long time, and a lot of our defensive philosophy comes from, that tree. And it's just been fun to kind of watch them kind of develop it and turn Baylor into a pretty prominent place, after Coach Rule had it at such a high level, and then obviously Coach Aranda just took off with it as well.
How have you seen obviously the defense has changed a lot across the board when you go to something like a 3-3-5 stack, like they run it at West Virginia, and how they kind of did that to combat the spread up wide open offenses that nobody was stopping. You've run a lot of those, and then now the offense is responding to defenses that were actually stopping them that for a few years weren't at all.
Yeah, there's so much interesting philosophy with defensive play, and I've been fortunate to call plays in the Big 12 and the SEC and the Pac-12 and even here in the Sun Belt, and they're all different philosophies, and like at West Virginia when I was there, we had to get to the 3-3-5 because we didn't have the greatest defensive line at times, and we needed to kind of just keep everything in front. And what you learn with that 3-3-5 stuff, your quarterbacks have to be very efficient. You got to run the ball. You can't get greedy with your throws. But what I've seen with Coach Aranda and Coach Roberts is that you've got a very unique kind of funnel system where they can eliminate receivers and they can add an extra half into the box and play a 4-down front, which is very fun to watch. And especially they got those big defensive linemen. They had some really good pass rushers as well. So they're double teamed in all your pass game and then able to really be efficient at stopping the run and playing a 2-high shell. So it's probably one of the most unique systems that I've seen is the defensive scheme at Baylor. and I also going up against Ron Roberts at, Louisiana Lafayette. But like I'm telling you, like that's probably the trend now of college football is what's going on at Baylor, because you kind of get a mix of that kind of 3-3-5, the drop 8, keep everything in front, and also the 4 down kind of SEC type of plays where you can play man free or you can kind of play a match coverage, which everybody's going to be covered and still get added hats into the run fit.
Coach, I know that game's been a while a ways now, but just kind of looking back on that, I mean, what was kind of going through your head there late in that game as you guys were right there? I mean, it was there. You had it within reach, and obviously just couldn't quite finish it, but to be at home, to have the crowd, start to believe that you guys were going to potentially win this game, just reflecting on that, how close do you feel you were, and what was that kind of like?
Yeah, you kind of just go, you kind of live in the moment, and, you start off the game, and there's a lot of ups and downs for us early in the game, and but, like, we responded, which I was very proud of them that they responded. I thought the defense played well, and I thought the offense had their moments where they responded, but at the end of the day, like, I thought that defense for Baylor was so good, and we turned the ball over. We had 3 interceptions in that game, and, I never felt like we had the shot to win it, we were close, but like we still were about 2 possessions away all the time.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those. Like, I was proud of the fight of our kids, because that's a quality opponent. Obviously, their record tells it the season that they had. So, but like it was a good atmosphere. It was great for our university, especially hosting a team like Baylor and San Marcos. It really kind of rejuvenated the crowd and just and kind of our community. And I was pretty fired up for our university, at least to compete against a quality opponent, in our backyard.
You're a coach's son. You did play college football, but you're a coach's son with your dad at Broken Arrow. Is that just in your blood, coaching?
Yeah, it is. It started, my grandfather was the one that started it. He was, he was the backfield coach for like Joe Namath with the New York Jets and was the 49ers offensive coordinator, but he was the head coach of a couple Canadian Football League teams, and he was the general manager of the Chicago Fire in the World League and the Michigan Panthers in the USFL. So it started with him, and my dad kind of followed him around and ended up becoming a high school coach because he was moving his family around, me and my brother. My brother's my defensive coordinator, and they told me to get into to get a business degree, and I almost had a finance degree, and then Gus Malzahn called me and asked me if I wanted to be a GA, and my parents thought they got both their boys out of the coaching profession, but I ended up not even walking. I took the job, and I became a football coach. So, they tried to not have me be a football coach, but here I am right now at Texas State.
And then you brought your brother with you.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are rebels.
Oh, you would love our practices because he's calling the defensive plays and I'm calling the offensive plays. So every single practice almost ends in a fist fight. So it just relives the early moments of my life where my brother was always just getting after me and beating me up and everything. So now it's just like I just try to return the favor by calling better offensive plays at times.
All right, one of the things I ask now is with all of what's going on with conferences changing, expansion, attrition, whatever, how much do you have to sometimes reflect back on the new conference, who's joining, when they're joining, who's still left, who's leaving, and do you sometimes not even know who's in your own conference anymore?
Yeah, like the other thing too is the transfer portal this year has been pretty crazy for a lot of teams, and I was sitting there doing a preseason scouting report on Nevada. We opened up with Nevada, and it literally is I think they lost like 45 players. I don't even know who's on their roster. It's just like, so you're dealing with, roster, and then you're also dealing with new coaches, and then you're also dealing with new teams, unfortunately the Sun Belt is a pretty solid conference, and it's a very competitive league, and they've done some really great things. And just adding in James Madison and Southern Miss and Marshall and Old Dominion is just making our conference a little bit, more secure and really more of a it's settled in to be a pretty dominant kind of group of five conference. So, like you said, man, there's a ton of moving parts. At the end of the day, I just got to keep worrying about what I can control with our roster and where we're at because, everything's changing and really like a daily basis right now.
No question. There's some players you have on your roster from Central Texas around Waco. Emmanuel Abdallah, is he still a part of everything, the running back from China Spring?
He is. E-Man is what we call him. he came in last year. He does a great job. A very fascinating kid. He's a great runner, like a great running back, a talented kid, but he's also a very intelligent kid. He's here really on full ride academically because he's just been raised in a great way. He's a guy that's excelled on and off the field, man, and I think he's going to end up having a great career for us.
Jake, thank you very much. We appreciate your time. We'll see you in September, but we'll maybe talk to you again between now and then. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, let's do it. You guys are the best. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Jake Spavital, head coach at Texas State. Emmanuel Abdallah, DeMarcus Hayes is from La Vega.
That's the thing is, like, I'm look at the roster on occasions. I go through rosters to kind of just see where Central Texas guys are, but I don't know if it's still accurate.
Yeah.
Like, I really, you know what I mean? Like, I don't, it says 2022 roster, but then I got to, like, instead of just being able to look at a roster and say, those guys are on the team, I then have to go double check and make sure, okay, transfer portal, Emmanuel Abdallah, he's, you know what I mean? It's wild.
And the thing is that could have been true when the roster was updated yesterday, but between now and then, if the web guy hasn't gotten to it yet, he's got a stack of other things, then it might still be there. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's weird because I'm looking, I'm like, oh, there's a guy from Waco. There's a guy from China Spring. But do I ask? Because I don't know if does that bring up something that, like, oh, no, he's booted off a week ago or he transferred a week ago. It's like, yeah, you got to do a little extra homework, which is fine. But it's just kind of an interesting observation.
That's why I asked, is he still on?
Yeah, I mean.
Because you don't know. It changes so quickly. And as he mentioned, the deadline eventually of May 1st or whatever. So appreciate Jake Spavital. Baylor will play them in September. It's September the 16th. They open up at Nevada, as he mentioned. They have Florida is that right?
Florida International.
Florida International
is,
at home, and then Baylor at home as well. And last year, that was 29-20 down in San Marcos. And it wasn't easy. It was not easy. But like he said, it always seemed like they were a couple of scores away from that game. And Baylor fans were probably going, my God, are we going to win this game? This is a nightmare. But coming off 2-7, and then that's your opening game. And you're struggling, there was a little bit of, like, anxiety. And then, of course, they went on and kick-started and really got on a nice little roll, no question. When we come back, we'll have Jeff Traylor, UT San Antonio, UTSA head coach at 4:30. I got a couple of notes about Baylor football players and also the draft that I got from an NFL-type scout and a mock draft guy who we have a lot of respect for. And then the chat room is going on. It's gone from all sorts from Brigham Young. Now it's about Memphis and Boise State. And then it's about North Dakota State and South Dakota State and football and the Big 12. We'll get into that as well. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Look, I talked to the powers that be today. I talked to Steve, who said he's half there and half not. So if you're looking to see Steve, you got a 50-50 shot. But if you only see Jeffrey when you go in, Jeffrey's running the show now. Jeffrey Chapman doing a great job. And look, if you are a fan of whiskeys, especially Texas whiskeys, whether it's Balcones, TX, Devil's River, they've got it at Riverbend Liquor and Wine at Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street. Plus craft beer. Look, it's spring right now, so you got some spring brews in there. And we're moving into May, so that means those summer brews, shandies, and stuff like that coming out now. And they're always turning the roster at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Steve, Jeffrey, who's ever in charge, whatever is going on, they always do it right. They run things well there at Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, right behind the bank. Check them out on Instagram. Just search Riverbend Liquor and Wine to see all this cool stuff they have going on.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public?
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. And you're about to approach this time of the year where you have the holidays, special gifts. It's not that you don't have that every single day. What are some of the things you have coming up?
You know, we kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves, probably 9 out of 10 every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your part of what you actually want.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
We'll have Jeff Traylor, not this segment, but next. UTSA head coach had a great year last year, and he got his quarterback back. He does, of course, lose the running back in Sincere McCormick, but we'll discuss that with Jeff at the bottom of the hour. It was interesting what Jake Spavital said. His father was once coached at, what did he say, with the Michigan, was it the Michigan Panthers?
Yeah.
Birmingham Stallions, one of those, and we just mentioned that they open up their season again this weekend. So, some notes from someone that is an NFL kind of a scout. He's going to join us next week, but he kind of gave me some notes. This is Matt Alkire, who we had on. He was at the Shrine Bowl. Was it the Shrine Bowl?
Mm-hmm.
Out in Vegas. Still right now, and again, these are not what everyone is, what you may hear or read, but these are from his thoughts talking to teams or others that are in this business. Kalen Barnes, his stock is rising. And this has been now a few days after he ran that great 40 at the Combine. He goes, he's as high now as maybe the 3rd round. Not sure it will happen, but heard that from at least a couple of different teams. Watched him in the Shrine Bowl. This is from Matt. He goes, I wasn't all that impressed, even with his speed, but others now like what he does because of how he plays. Whatever he does, they feel like in the NFL that can be fixed.
Yeah, it would surprise me, though, if he went to the third round. I mean, I would see him. I mean, he's a 6th-round pick to me.
If he goes in the 3rd round, it's all entirely based off of his speed and his athleticism and not his play. I mean, I'm sorry, but he did not play like a 3rd-round cornerback in the NFL draft. I mean, again, when we talk about the NFL draft, I've just tried to make it this year more than ever, more of a point I hammer home in my own head of just completely overrating guys that we just know better. You know what I mean? It's like, we watched him, so we feel like, well, Kalen Barnes is better than that guy, but we don't watch Gardner Webb and Richmond and all of these other teams that have great players too. And so it's not just a matter about being good. It's like, how many other guys are good at your position? How many other guys are just flat out better than you, So I don't know where he stands, but third round, that would be incredible for him, but that would be shocking to me.
My assessment of Kalen Barnes would be, outside of his athleticism, is you can't make too many complaints about the way he plays, or that, there weren't times where like people were like, Kalen Barnes, God, but at the same time, there weren't enough times where, to me, to be a third round draft pick, you'd be like, Kalen effing Barnes.
Well,
this it just didn't happen.
Remember where this is coming from. This isn't coming from us. This is coming from somebody that follows it and also talks to teams. And he himself said, even after what he saw at the Shrine Bowl, he was not all that impressed and thought he would probably be very late round, if not an undrafted free agent. Now,
but I can see where just the athleticism and the size and the NFL style and all that, Xavier Howard was a really good cornerback, but I didn't think he was near first rounder, soon to be highest paid cornerback of all time good. I didn't think he was that good.
He's
Obviously,
in the Jalen Ramsey conversation.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, so you never know. And with the guy who's got just that type of athleticism and size, then
All right. Now, Abram Smith said he's trending in the wrong direction, according to him, towards the late rounds. He was at his highest mark after the season. This does not, any of this means it's going to work this way. But Abram Smith and even Tyquan Thornton, who was at practice yesterday, they just haven't heard much about them anywhere from the 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th round, which is kind of what we thought, even though Tyquan had the great NFL Combine numbers. Jalen Petrie, 2nd or 3rd round, that's the second day. I know that there is some smoke about him being in that first round. He doesn't see it that way, but who knows? If you want somebody, if you feel like he's going to help you and you need that, but pretty much 2nd or 3rd round, which is really what we've heard for a long, long time.
Kuiper has him at 36.
Yeah, and so 2nd round.
Yeah, early 2nd round.
Terrell Bernard, he hadn't heard much at all. One of the concerns, I just haven't heard much about Terrell Bernard. No matter how he plays, there is still the concern about his size.
Yeah, he's not very big.
Not very big, but my God, can the guy play some football? Now, the problem is, can he play football long enough to warrant wherever you draft him?
Well, can he stay healthy as well?
Exactly.
I mean, he's got a lot of injuries that have piled up, played through some of them, but, already not being a very big guy, he's got already a bit of an injury history. I mean, that's a little bit of a red flag no matter how great he was, and he was great. But I can see where that would cause some teams pause for sure.
Treston Ebner will get drafted. He didn't say what round, didn't think it was going to be too early. Might be towards the end of the draft. He just does too much. By the way, an NFL coach who on Terrell Bernard, I love him. His size hurts him, but my God, he's a football player. And again, you still have the checklist, the protocol, team doctors, all that go against that as well. Logan Hall, the young man who played Belton High School here in our backyard at Houston, easily will go in the first round. That's a local boy, local kid in Logan Hall. And we've heard that really from a long time. In fact, we had Logan on the show with Drew Pittman, one of his agents. Xavier Newman-Johnson, who had a pretty good run. Most likely preferred undrafted free agent. That's not a surprise. But the fact that he's getting that look says quite a bit. And when he went to the Shrine Bowl, that didn't hurt him at all. Guard center for him. Who am I missing here?
Tyquan Thornton.
Tyquan Thornton, I mentioned him along with Abram Smith, just haven't heard a lot about him ever since the Combine, most likely somewhere in that early 3rd day, perhaps the 4th round or the 5th round. The problem is there's so many receivers, and a lot of guys ran fast. I like Tyquan. I think someone's going to get, not a steal, depends on where they get him, but I think Tyquan really last year showed that he's just good. Just a good player. He's got better size than you think as well. Now, let me see. From the Cowboys' perspective, now he said one time, this is from Matt, he goes, this might have been after, because these guys do mock draft after mock. He goes, this might have been after my whiskey mock, which is late in the night, you're tired, you're frustrated. Cowboys with Trevor Penning. Paul?
Is he from Iowa? Trevor Penning?
He's an offensive lineman.
Yeah, he's from Iowa. Look, any offensive lineman, I'm kind of fine with. Just do that because it's clearly the biggest area of need. Now, I do wonder. So if Traylon Burks or Jamison Williams, especially Jamison Williams, since he's torn his ACL, and the Cowboys love to do that. But if Traylon Burks or Jamison Williams are somehow there at 24, can Jerry resist the urge to go get another toy? And I wonder about that.
In Northern Iowa.
Northern Iowa.
Yeah, he's from Northern Iowa. This receiver thing is so stupid. This is dumb. Like, what are the Cowboys doing? I mean, you just had Amari Cooper on your roster. It's very clear that it wasn't his play, but something personality-wise that they just don't dig. I mean, just the way that they were kind of taking digs at him sort of on the way out. But, like, you have him there and you get rid of him only to turn around and, have this temptation. And I know what you're saying. Like, you're not predicting they're going to – but, like, the fact that if they get there and it's like they're going to draft a receiver potentially again, it's silly to me. It's just so silly.
CeeDee Lamb better than Amari Cooper?
Not yet.
And they drafted him in the first round. So even if they draft another CeeDee Lamb, he's not better than Amari Cooper.
And then what do? Like in 2 years, like Michael Gallup's gone. Let's go draft. I don't know. It seems like a revolving door.
And I think that you can get, and wide receiver is probably a smaller area of need for them, but. You can probably find one in the third round who can do what
area of need at all.
Exactly. Until they did. Yeah. Nobody knows what they're doing. Here's what they're doing, guys. Blockchain. They're out in front of the curve.
Yeah,
okay,
we'll get to that with John
Blockchain.
And also, they he said that his ear to the ground that Winfrey, the young man, Perion Winfrey from Oklahoma is a name that he sees. And we've heard that as well, even I think from, might have been David Hellman.
I think a lot of people like Perion Winfrey.
All right, that's just a few nuggets, and we'll have more. We'll have Matt on next week. But coming up next, Jeff Traylor, head football coach at UTSA, next on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac. They've just recently been celebrating an anniversary, over 30 years in Central Texas, and they are the people that you can count on. They are the people that want to give you the best customer service possible, but also give you the best deals possible as well over at Richard Carr. And it's all about customer service for starters. I had a car issue, actually had a couple of car issues here recently, and I've had to go over to Richard Carr to get fixed up. Donnie's been the point man over there, and I can't thank him enough for making the process very easy. And I didn't even buy my car from them originally. I bought it way back, and they're still out there helping me out and making me feel like I was someone who had been a member of their dealership or been a buyer of their dealership for a very long time. So I can vouch personally for the customer service side. Now, for the actual deals, they've got new cars and trucks coming in every single week. You can go see the current inventory over on richardcar.com. Or you can come by the dealership yourself and see the GMCs, Buicks, and Cadillacs that are already on the lot or will be making their way there very soon. And to get into one of those as fast as possible, get your name on that inbound vehicle list. But if you're not looking to buy new, you're looking to buy pre-owned, you can save good money on dozens of their quality pre-owned cars and trucks. All of them have gone through a 172-point inspection, so you can drive them with peace of mind, and they pay top dollar on your trade with dozens of lending options. They say yes to loans when others say no. For qualified buyers, you can buy a truck now, get 0% financing for 72 months on most GMC vehicles and Buick SUVs. And with those premium pre-owned cars and trucks, again, 100% credit approval is always the goal. So go online or come by for a test drive today. Trust the good local people you can count on for 23 years in Central Texas. Proud Wacoans, proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcar.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. One of the great stories last year in college football was UTSA. 12-2 record. Jeff Traylor joins us at Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports as well. And I don't know if you want to know this or not, but on Monday night, I spent about an hour on a Zoom interview with Dr. Hunter Taylor and also Danny Long, and a lot of the conversation was about you.
Well, I would love to know how many embellishments there were told on that. That'd be a hell of a deal to listen to, I can promise you.
Well, we'll get into that maybe at some point, but let's get into 12-2, the momentum. I know it didn't end the way you wanted, but how much of that carried over into the spring?
It hasn't changed since the day one. Our kids have been bought in since our very first team meeting. It seems like, it was 100 years ago after all the things we've been through. But since December 9, 2019, our players have been totally bought in, and they've been the best. Whether we were winning games, losing games, going through COVID, George Floyd, our guys have never blinked, and they're an absolute joy to be around, David, every day.
Coach, how much momentum have you been able to build going into what is a very exciting schedule for you this year? Houston, Army, Texas. Look, you're playing as diverse a schedule in Texas against different teams from around as maybe anybody in the state ever has this year. Are your players feeling that excitement going in?
I'd be honest to tell you that we really – the Houston game's 140 days out. That's the one we're focused on, right? We're going to be a lot better offensively. We've got 9 3-year starters. We've got to replace a very good left tackle and a running back. Defensively is where we took the big hit. We lost our nose, we lost our forward, we lost our Sam, our Will, our boundary safety. We lost an NFL corner. That's where it's going to be hard. But to answer your question, you follow that up with Army, then you follow that up with University of Texas. That's 3 top 25 programs back to back to back. It will be very interesting to see if we've recruited to the standpoint to be able to handle the depth to last that long. But it doesn't matter. The first one's the most important with Houston 140 days out.
Coach, you mentioned your NFL cornerback there, Tariq Woolen. I remember that was a big recruiting win over Baylor back in the day. But just what did you see from him development-wise? He was obviously a very good athlete coming in, but any surprise that he's now where he's being projected?
Well, he was a receiver when we got here, and I think the very last game or two they might have let him dabble over there. So when we got here, that was the biggest decisions where to put him. And we decided to put him at corner, and Tariq was very, supportive of that. He's always been long and rangy and been able to run. He just had to mature and grow into his body. And our strength coach, Ryan Follow, did a fantastic job. But let's be honest, no one creates 4.240 guys. Those guys are born.
How much does having a name like that, a player in the draft, getting this kind of attention help a program?
Well, we're different, and our players on this roster know that as well. You flash back, we were recruiting with a high school football coach in one of the worst facilities in the entire country. We now have a $45 million facility that's as good as anybody's in the country. We play in the Alamo Dome. We've gone to back-to-back bowls. We've won 19 games in the last 2 years. We're recruiting a different player now than we first got here. We're moving to the AAC, which we know that's going to be a much tougher league for us to go into. And everybody says, yeah, but you beat Memphis. Yeah, we beat them one time. You're going to have to play somebody else the very next week just like them. So our depth has to get there. If we wait to go to the AAC before we start getting ready for the AAC, that league's going to eat our lunch. We got to get ready for it now.
Coach, San Antonio is a city. I mean, when they've got their arms around something, I mean, you know how much that everybody loves the Spurs. The city has really adopted you, whether people are alums or not. You are the city's team now. How has that helped recruiting and helped the vibe around the program?
If you go back and watch that very first interview, my introductory press conference, that was our goal. We've been very intentional to become the football team of San Antonio. It's one of the reasons I decided to stay here during the off season is just because the community, the city, they're such good people. They really appreciate what we do here. And I know the winning always makes it better. I'm not naive, but these people are just wired differently. They're very loyal. I love going to the Spurs game. They're still packing that place. They still go. And, we haven't had the greatest run here in the last 4 or 5 years. But that play-in game is a big deal. We're all going to be at the Spurs game. There's a very, very neat fan base, and we're so thankful they've embraced us the way they have.
Coach, what is it like without Sincere McCormick being back there? Just a tremendous player, obviously, for you guys the last few years. But how do you feel about the running back room, and what's it like in terms of trying to replace his production?
Well, even though we lost 23 players in that bowl game because of COVID and various reasons, NFL, I felt good because everybody in the bowl game was going to be returning for us the next year, except the running back room. Even Sincere's backups were seniors. So we lost Sincere, we lost Brendan Brady, we lost Billy. So we lost those top three. And in spring, now we've lost 3 more running backs for the year. We've had 2 more knee injuries and an ankle. So we are absolutely depleted. So we are in the transfer portal looking for running backs feverishly right now. Sincere McCormick's greatest ability was his availability. He never missed a practice. He never missed a game. He never fumbled. He always showed up with a great attitude and a great smile. We're going to miss him tremendously.
Yeah, and you mentioned the transfer portal. Can you imagine with what has happened and transpired if it wasn't there? Because there's a lot of argument about, is it open too long? Is it too easy? Whatever else. But in this case for you, the timing is good?
Well, I don't know what we would do. And we're not going to panic. We're not going to bring in a bad player just to bring in one. But I would imagine after, these exit interviews, there's going to be a lot of running backs when they get done with it. My team included, when we get some of our exit interviews, they're going to go, screw that. I'm out of here. I'm going to go play somewhere else.
Oh, my God. It's going to be honest when we get you on the show. Jeff Traylor, UTSA head football coach with us on Sikkim 365 Radio.
So you guys are playing your spring game tomorrow night, Coach? That's unique.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just didn't want to mess with Easter. I wanted to get started before spring break. I felt like most schools would be out of school on Friday. And I'm just going to give it a shot, give it a try, see what happens. It might be terrible. I don't know. I'll let y'all know after tomorrow night. But so far, we've had great response. There's not a lot going on tomorrow night, so we're really excited to have everybody come out to Dove Fair. It's free admission to watch, our next year's team.
Coach, Frank Harris, your star quarterback, had a very productive year last year, 27-6 touchdown interception ratio, a lot of passing yards. Over 3,000, just a massive jump up for him. What is the focus? What are the goals with Frank Harris as you start to, work on improvements, work on the little things with him this offseason?
It starts with his leadership, right? He's been voted into that 0 for 2 years, something, an idea I stole from Coach Rule. I just looked, and he's got his number 11 on for tomorrow, getting ready for the game tomorrow. And, he goes back to 11. Zakari Franklin, a great wide receiver, goes from 4 to 18. My kids don't even blink. They're the most unselfish kids. So many people talk about what all is wrong with this age of kid and how selfish they are and NIL money. It's so refreshing. I don't have any kids that ever gripe about anything, honestly. They're just grateful, humble kids. So it starts with his leadership. But as far as improvement, he's the most improved quarterback I've ever coached in my entire career. We made a throw today. He checked to a field throw on an out cut from the left hash. And I looked at my offensive coordinator, Will Stein, and I said, man, we used to have to reduce the split to the field just so he could throw the ball to the field. And now he checks that play. He throws a full throw across. Unbelievable with his feet. Great leader. Took us to the conference championship. One of the most unbelievable humans you ever meet in your life. He has a smile on his face every day. I'm just blessed to be Frank Harris's coach.
You had some great quarterbacks in high school, and then, of course, the time at Jacksonville when the McCown brothers came rolling through there, which is a lot of what Danny Long and Hunter Taylor and I talked about.
Still happening.
And, there's now one that's in Colorado that was at Rusk High School, and there's more and more to come. Do you just know – I guess it the arm strength and mobility and dual threat and whatever else. But how does leadership just seep out and you watch how other players maybe migrate around those type players?
Well, yes, sir. I don't want to take credit for that, David. But, the years out with Danny, we had all McCallans pretty much. In my 15 years at Gilmer, almost every one of those kids were Division I quarterbacks. I come here, I've got a really good quarterback. You don't get in the chairs that we're in without great quarterbacks. So I don't want anybody to hear this think I'm taking credit for anything. But I do believe you can recognize the locker room. The guys know. Players always know. They just know. And I can't explain it. It's an it factor. It's a short letter word, a 2-letter word, IT. And then they got to be good players now. You can't just be the greatest public speaker and be tough and be handsome and get to win the quarterback job. You got to be able to throw. You got to be able to run. You got to be able to lead. You got to be tough. There's so many things about it. But I've been blessed. I've been coaching 32 years, and those last 23, 18 as a head coach, I've had great quarterbacks every year.
All right, so this is from a former player that wanted me to ask you this question. What have you learned from your time coaching at the high school level that you were able to bring with you to the college level?
Players want to be loved, but they want to get better. And if you love them and you can make them better, I don't care if you're coaching junior high for Danny Long in Jacksonville or you're coaching the Big Sandy Wildcats in 1990. My basketball team's there. I was the head basketball coach there for a few years, and those kids are no different. You love them and you can make them better, kids will run through a wall for you. You don't have to treat them great and still make them better, and they'll play for you. And that's the only thing I would say. Man, treat kids good like you would your own children and make them the very best you can make them be. They're all made differently. God made each one of them unique. And you just make each one of those children the very best they can be. And they might be mad at you in the moment because you're having to tell them things they don't want to hear. But in the end, they know you're trying to make them better.
So, I've been told the plastic is off the white couch.
Brother, that dog now, Izzy, the little black, whatever she calls it, Cavapoo, she gets to do whatever she wants to on that couch. Me and the children, we still got special rules that only apply to us.
No drinks, no food, no, like coming in after you've done yard work, which I'm sure your kids do for you? Nothing, right? Is that a battle you've won? Is that, or is there still kind of more battles you have to win with that?
No, I totally waved the white flag. I limped upstairs to my brown leather couch that got the boot and the move, and I eat my chips and hot sauce on my brown leather couch upstairs in private, and just I've let it go, David. I've learned. It's over.
Have you ever purposely, accidentally dropped something on the white couch just to see the reaction?
Heck no. I've been married 30 years to this woman. I do not want the wrath of Care Bear on me. No way.
Is the bird feeder still in existence?
No, because we have an 8-pound cavapoo now, and she's afraid, like the foxes and all the other animals, they're going to eat the bird food. We're going to take her cavapoo away. So, no, even my birds are gone now.
Oh, Danny. Oh, Danny Long, and told. Hey, one more thing about when you were a young assistant, when he brought you to Jacksonville. He was hard on you. He was really hard on you and also on Kurt. You're the one that suggested to bring Kurt because he's an offensive line coach, but we know that Danny is the offensive line coach. When you think back to those days and how all that developed, that gave you your shot as well, what do you remember most?
How dumb I thought he was when I worked for him, and how much I couldn't stand him, and how smart he became my first day on the job at Gilmer. I bet I called him once a week. I was a young know-it-all. I'm sure he'll tell you. He couldn't stand me most of the time because I was always the smartest guy in the room, I thought. And what I learned when I went to Gilmer is I didn't know anything, David. I thought I knew everything, and I knew nothing. And I'm just so grateful for all the things Danny taught me. You know, he's from California. He sees the world differently. He really does. I was not a David Smoak fan early in my career. I did not like all that stuff, right? And Danny taught me. Like, he literally taught me. David is good for the game. David is good for East Texas. Jeff, if he's against you, he's going to murder you, literally. If he's for you, you've got a chance. And he just taught me things like that. You know, I'm from Gilmer, David. I'm in East Texas through and through, thick-headed. And Danny, man, he just taught me so many different things that I'll always be forever grateful for. His unconditional love for everyone is probably the most. But he just sees the world differently, and he helped me see the world differently.
Jeff and I have something in common. We were not
a lot of people.
We were not fans of David Smoak right at the beginning. I get it. Listen, we've been doing the show together for over a decade now. The first month was rough.
My son is on this show with us, and there's times he's not a fan of his father at all. Now, did you truly block my high school website, Smoky.com, from Gilmer ISD at any time?
Yes, that is a fact. Just because our players were getting so wrapped up in it, and there was just so much. You know, the thing about Gilmer, our fan base is so loyal. It's almost over the top how loyal they really are. And it's, you know, because of the winning and so many kids were moving to Gilmer, it just caused such a, I don't know, it just caused a distraction, I guess, for no better term. It was new at the time, right, Dave?
Yeah, it was.
Just gotten to the point where we all understand it now. That was so new and different. And there was a lot of great things on Smoky.com now. It was not all bad, but I just didn't want to have to deal with it every single day. So I got our administration just to block it where our kids couldn't get to it anymore. Yes, that is a factual story.
Now, one more thing, and this is about you as a high school coach in your time, and that's why we did the interview on Monday night with Dr. Traylor and also with Danny. There's a book written, and it's about basically you. How cool is that?
I'll let you know after I read all of it. That's a little scary because, you know, the 53-year-old version of Jeff Traylor is a way, way better version than the 23-year-old that Danny had to grow up. So, you know, I don't know. I'll read it. I've read excerpts of it. Obviously, Hunter's a fantastic human. He's one of the few people I would trust to do something like that. I've given him total autonomy, David. I've not micromanaged him one bit. I just turned him loose. Anybody asked me for the number, I gave him a number. And I really haven't fact-checked much of it yet. But I know Hunter. He won't put out anything that's not great work. And anything that gets extra attention for Danny Long, and Matt Turner and Alan Metzel and the Gilmer Buckeyes and all our fan base and our administration back home, it's all a positive thing. And East Texas as well. I mean, Dennis Alexander, Jack Murphy, those guys were such role models for me. They just made me want to be great. Anything we can do to get attention, because East Texas, let's be honest, David, it gets overlooked quite a bit. And the more that story's told, the better it is for all of us.
Well, it's called Draw the Line. It's about Jeff Traylor and East Texas high school football, your time growing up, eventually taking over at Gilmer and what you're now doing at UTSA. Is it fun? Are you still having – I know people say, well, you're not having fun, you'd walk away. You still have a long way in front of you as well. How much fun are you having enjoying this journey?
It's a lot like Gilmer, right? It's a build. We've got a lot to do, Dave. We've got a lot left to do. But I feel strongly that God almost prepared me in that 15-year journey at Gilmer to come do the same thing here. I really want this thing to be everything that Dr. Compost and President Amy visualized this thing being. We've got fundraising to do. We've got facilities to get done. We've got new conferences to move into. We're nowhere near there, but I'm having an absolute blast being used as just a tool, a small tool, just a straw in the drink, David, to stir this thing. I'm having an absolute blast. And what's funny, I see Rodney Weld moving to Highland Park administration. All my buddies are Lane's retiring. All my buddies are stepping down, David, and hanging it up. And I just signed a 10-year contract. Shows you how dang smart I am, David.
Yeah, Rodney Webb is now a part of administration at Highland Park after Geyer and, of course, Rockwall, Royce City, and many other places as well. Hey, we appreciate you, man. We love you, Jeff. Thanks for your time today.
Feeling is very mutual, David, and I do want everybody to understand. I might not have been a David Smoak fan early, but I'm as big a fan as anybody in the country of David Smoak. One of the most honest, loyal, hardworking, loves the game of football, dear friend and huge fan of David Smoak. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you, Jeff. Jeff Traylor, he's the head coach at UTSA. They were 12-2 last year. They took it on the chin against North Texas, and then, of course, things didn't end exactly the way they wanted, but that was one of the programs that was one of the better stories in college football a year ago, no question about it.
Yeah, 12-2 UTSA, yeah. I'd say so. Not the finish they wanted, obviously, and weren't going to, delve too much into that because it's in the history books now. But, just tremendous run, and, them getting him signed to an extension last fall was a big deal. I'm curious to see, what the market looks like again this next upcoming offseason, because that's not going to go away. I mean, the more that they succeed, the more his name's going to be a hot name. So they'll have to deal with that, but that's a good problem to have because that means that they're doing well and he's doing well. And so the more attention, the more that they can use that to their advantage and keep building. But having Frank Harris back is a big deal. Tariq Woolen is a loss, as a Sincere McCormick and others. Good luck to him on that running back room, because it sounds like they're gonna need a little bit of luck in that transfer portal, or a little bit of fortune in that transfer portal to find some backs, which is the benefit, like we said, versus all the complaints about it. It's gonna save their bacon potentially for next season, just having that opportunity to go and find another running back.
When we come back, the 5 o'clock hour, we have a guest at 5:30, and John Machota. Jerry Jones today spoke for the first time, I think, since probably the owners' meetings, and made a couple of notes about trading up if that possibility arises, and whatever he was talking about. You can't believe if it's a general manager, an owner, a coach, or anyone else.
But why is also why is that a headline?
Because
general manager willing to listen to phone calls for potential trade that could benefit team 2 weeks from draft. Yeah. Oh my God, no way. They're going to listen to trade I think that's a silly headline that you could go ahead and just schedule for next year and schedule for the year after and schedule, because it's the same storyline every year. Of course they and 31 other teams are debating trades right now. All of them are open to trades right now. And even if they think they're not, all it takes is one phone call with the right offer to say they're open to trade. So I think that's always kind of one of the silliest storylines.
I think the more interesting question, and they wouldn't answer this one either, is would you trade that 24th pick for a veteran that could be available during the draft?
That's a good question.
So, if wide receiver is really, or guard or whatever, if there's someone who's in a contract situation that you're really hot after, or you would like better than they can help you now, that to me was more interesting than will they trade up and draft Kayvon Thibodeau if he fell to 16?
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, of course, if Cameron Thibodeau falls to 16, then a lot of people are going to be trading out. Like, that's going to happen. But that to me, and look, John Machota, we'll have him on later, is big on he thinks the Cowboys are positioning for a move like that because none of the rest of their offseason, if you're talking about capitalizing on being 12-5, makes sense because they're not better right now than they were when they lost to the 49ers.
Now,
hey, maybe go get a first-round wide receiver to, put it all back basically the way it was last year, I guess.
From Bo Stacker on the chat room, just getting here. Hey, guys, have you talked about JT Daniels yet? Yeah, we did right off the top of the show. It's a great day for West Virginia football. And Tony Caridi, voice of West Virginia football broadcaster, was on with us at the same time as well to talk about what was a great day today for West Virginia and Neil Brown. When we come back, we'll discuss a lot of what's in the chat room. There is so much discussion, a lot of you about ESPN and their stranglehold on college football and much more. We'll do that. We'll do that next. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Easter coming up on Sunday. I'm not sure what you have for the weekend, but Waco Custom Marketplace has a lot planned for you right now and through Saturday. And don't forget, today being Wednesday, you've got about maybe just over an hour. If you want to order 30-pound sacks of live crawfish, and right now it's $3.75 a pound. 30-pound sacks of live crawfish for $3.75 a pound. Order by 6 today. You could pick it up anytime after 4 Friday or anytime on Saturday as well. Now, Easter items. Half spiral ham, mini pit ham, whole pit ham from $2.99 a pound to $4.48 a pound. Whole smoked turkeys or raw turkeys. Raw turkeys are $1.50 a pound. Whole smoked $3.75 a pound. Trim select, choice, and prime tenderloin available on price on sale as well. Tri-tip, beef short ribs, St. Louis style ribs. What you need, pork spare ribs. Waco Custom Marketplace, your hometown grocery store, 425 Lake Erie Drive in Waco.
Payments for qualified buyers at 2.9% for 72 months with $5,000 down cash or trade. TTL Extra. See dealer for details.
Summer driving is coming. Save now at Richard Carr's Summer is Coming savings event. Find summer savings like a 2015 GMC Sierra 2500 HD for $318 a month, or 2020 Buick Encore for $288 a month, or get a 2015 Cadillac SRX for $212 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection, and we pay top dollar for your trade. 100% approval is always our goal.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance, and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com, or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Isaac Power kicks it away. Brooks muffed, picked up by Baylor. Baylor recovers.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Brad Wilson. Investing is time and experience back to you and your money during today's changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Here we go. This 5 o'clock hour, John Machota in 30 minutes on the Cowboys and much more. This is a quote from De'Aaron Fox on Davion Mitchell, former Baylor national championship guard, All-American. We all know Davion is probably the hardest worker we've ever seen outside of maybe Kobe.
Probably, maybe. Yeah. So, yeah, that was that's a nice quote, but, good old Twitter just sliced right through that one with the pointing out of the probably and maybe and all of that. But that's a nice thing to say. And we all know Davion Mitchell works incredibly hard, and I just hope he's actually going to kind of take a break because every time I see him, he's running absolute full speed on a court with a bunch of people who normally aren't, and he never stops. Never. So I just, for his ticker's sake, I just hope he take a breath after this season being over and all the work he put in, and, we'll see what the future holds.
Well, I think if you want to go back and tell COVID stories about athletes, his is going to be really interesting one day. If you go back and say, what did you do and what fueled you? Well, we know that team in 2020 really felt that they got their opportunity stolen to win a national title by COVID. And then I remember the first time I interviewed Davion Mitchell, I asked Charlie Meltz to say, hey, tell me something funny about him. He goes, I tell you this kid, we've got to beg him to leave the gym. And he said, we've got a lot of, Freddie Gillespie's here really early in the morning sometimes before anybody gets here. And, the way that Jared Butler shoots, like Steph Curry shoots, just shoots and shoots and shoots and shoots and works on all these things. And Maceo Teague's the same way. He's like, but those guys all have at least some kind of clock of, okay, it's time to go home now. Davion Mitchell, Charlie said that, you have to tell him, hey, it's 10:45. Yeah. It's a Wednesday. It's the off season. You can go home and relax. You're fine. And he enjoys the work and he throws himself into it so much. So, the hardworking story I always think about Kobe is, he tore his Achilles, made 2 free throws, and then left the game. Davion Mitchell would be that guy. If you told me there's a guy in the league right now that, broke his leg and had to go shoot 2 free throws, it would probably be Davion.
Yeah. Now, there's a couple other stories I want to get to as well. And I may be in disagreement with a few others, but we'll have John Machota at 5:30. But former Oregon Ducks offensive lineman, Paul, you sent this out, Doug Brenner, $100 million in damages against the NCAA. He's a former Oregon offensive lineman. He was going through some offseason, workout or conditioning, and he got sick along with some others as well. I think it was 2017.
Now, do you not remember the whole Willie Taggart to-do over the workouts? That's what this is talking about.
Yeah. So $100 million. Is he can sue the NCAA, or do you sue Oregon, or do you sue Willie Taggart?
It's everybody's named. It's Willie Taggart, it's the NCAA, it's Oregon, it's the strength coach. Everybody's there. Willie Taggart is attending the trial I saw, and I do think it's kind of, I mean, maybe this was in response to that, but one of the knocks on Willie Taggart at Florida State was their strength program was kind of in shambles after he left.
Well, maybe he was scared to have one.
Yeah, maybe he was. I don't know. I mean, that would make sense. So I mean, I don't know if you're going to get $100 million, and sometimes you say $100 million so you get $3, but I mean, was this guy going to make $100 million in his life?
I doubt it.
As a football player, I don't know. I mean, it's even for offensive linemen, it's hard to get to that number. High level offensive linemen, you got to be pretty darn good. So I don't know. It's going to be hard to prove, especially if you. I mean, who else is in the suit with him? Who else is going to testify to this? I mean, are you going to be in the suit with this guy if you're not getting any money out of it? I don't understand how that all works, but
it just seems like everything's a lawsuit, huh?
Well, we're in the most litigious country in the world, so yeah.
So that's a story there that, and I remember.
Look, if he has a legitimate beef, go sue somebody. But I mean, it's sometimes hard to prove.
And here's where I'm going to get scolded, and that's fine. Strength and conditioning coaches, whether it was Kaz Kazadi or whether it's now with Vic Valoria or any school in America, any program, anything. You get pushed to a certain limit. Now, he eventually had some kidney damage or whatever, so I get that. But that's what I remember asking Kaz Kazadi when I sat down with him that time. How do you know when it's too much? How do you know how to push somebody, whether he's a freshman who's just coming in from high school or a guy that's a grown-ass man who's a 4th or 5th year football player? How do you know? And I don't know if you do know. I don't know if you do know. Are there certain things? Some guys can collapse easier than others, or women, athletes, people, right? So I don't know about that. I'm not sure where that's going to go.
He's got permanent kidney damage, he is alleging, from the workouts. So, I mean, it's not like it's just money grab. I mean, he's got legitimate complaints. Now, of course, it's a lawsuit, so believe what you want to believe as far as the allegations go, but it's not like this was just the Junction Boys, and it's just young people being too soft. Dude's got kidney issues that might, at least in the lawsuit, it alleges, rhabdomyolysis, or I believe is the name, that could shorten his lifespan by a decade. Now, I don't know if that's just doctor talk or whatever, but I mean, if that's factual and that's something that actually could occur to him, then yeah, I would say that strength and conditioning probably went too far. It's also the fact that if you read through the lawsuit, is that not all these guys, or at least in one case, not a certified coach. So you had amateurs, basically, or non-professionals who were helping to run these workouts that apparently went way too extreme. And, I mean, for as much as, like, every person will go, oh, it's in my day or whatever, like, there are examples of people crossing the line and doing too much and not giving water and not knowing when to call it quits, especially if they're not professionally trained or licensed. So, there's two sides to a story, and his side may be the truthful one.
When I was first starting out at radio, there was a story about a player who had collapsed and died in a practice. And the two co-hosts at the time said, well, this never used to happen. Back in the day, we never got water. So, no, it used to happen all the time. We just didn't have the internet.
Exactly.
So if it happened, if you were in Stephenville, Texas, and it happened in Minnesota, unless you were really reading all the news that you could every day and going to the library, you probably never heard about it. And so now we hear about everything. So nothing's more or less than it was. It's probably about the same as it was. We just know more now. And I was right at the end of playing high school football when coaches would withhold water for a little while. But even then, they knew it was like, okay, you're not going to get a water break at the second whistle that normally, but you're getting one at the third because things are different now. And so, because we know more, and not to give people water when it's hot and they need water. So things are different now. And I think part of the problem is that there's too many coaches, or like Craig mentioned, that don't know it's different now. They think like, yeah, I'm going to push this kid to his limit and all that stuff. And sometimes it's not that. If you're a Kaz Kazadi or any kind of strength coach, your benefit is just pushing them just to the limit and then drawing them back, because your money is made by the kids getting better, not falling off the team because they can't work out anymore.
Yeah, and here's the other thing whenever I hear comparisons to, like, well, back in my day, and there's some that are valid, but lifestyles are entirely different now versus then. This isn't, the Junction Boys were growing up working outside, outside all the time in the heat. They weren't playing video games all day. Like, they weren't on TikTok all day. They weren't in the AC all day. They weren't, look at the treatment of athletes now versus back then as well. I mean, these guys are super hydrated all the time. They've got their nutrition checked out. They've got all that checked out. Those guys back then didn't have that. And, even then, like, the extremes that they apparently went to, like, that might just be a normal practice for all we know. Now it's just been so glamorized and, put into such a legend that it's become books and movies and all of that. But, bodies are different now versus what they used to be. So going out in the heat, 50 years ago when you were more used to it, still really hard, but is not the same as, somebody who's been used to being on the couch for hours upon a day, all of a sudden going out in the 99-degree heat and trying to do workouts. So I don't know. You never know with lawsuits who's telling the truth. It does seem like this does have some merit to it as far as Willie Taggart and how involved he was, and in terms of what they were doing and what they were not doing and how far they pushed it, and so it seems like he might have a little bit of a case, but then again, I don't know. It's the legal system, so who the heck knows?
When you file a lawsuit, that means you have your case, and then you also will have evidence that could be used against you. I don't know what that would be. Well, maybe nothing whatsoever.
Could be the fact that they put, people involved on leave after this happened because guys were getting hospitalized. So, that was if you're the prosecution, I guess, that's what you can point to is the reaction that Oregon had in which they had to address it. So clearly it wasn't just a matter of one guy.
Isn't that a default thing you're going to do automatically because it's under investigation? Isn't that what we do now, or is that what happens? You can't work now, or you're on administrative leave or whatever?
Yeah, I suppose so, but if they didn't feel he didn't do anything wrong, I know what you're saying is like it's just a precautionary deal, but I don't know. In reading through the details when I did a couple days back, it does seem like there is some merit to it. Now, to what extent the jury agrees with it or whatever, I have no idea. I don't know how they'll view it, and I don't know how all those details will be taken in, but would it be all that surprising if a workout went too extreme? Like, is this really that crazy of an idea? No. I don't think so.
It happened at Maryland, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. To the point where DJ Durkin couldn't coach until he could coach in the SEC.
Yep.
So, it's happened before. It'll happen again, no matter how many precautions people take. And I hope this young man's all right. And whatever should happen, I hope happens.
I want to get to the Saban comments, Craig and Paul, just a minute. But a couple of chat rooms, I mentioned it. I want to get to some of them. Chidomiko. Chomping at the bit when UCF wades butt deep into the fray. We begin 2022 with Georgia Tech, Louisville at home. Looking forward to the Big 12 schedule, hopefully in 2023.
Yeah.
One conference. Michael Davis. I'm torn on 8 versus 9 conference games. When the Big 12 expands, we can still get out of conference games if we stop scheduling FCS programs. Let's see here. From Joey. To Aaron, of the 4 new teams, I think Brigham Young will acclimate the best to the Big 12 just because they play a Power 5 schedule now, for the most part, if you can count the Pac-12, and then, of course, laugh out loud, the Pac-12 is Power 5. Let's see here. From Joey, no, we've done that for Ron Lowry. I wish Boise State joined the Big 12. The series with them and Brigham Young would be great. And they may continue to play each other anyway.
Never say never. There are things that can happen.
Well, on the text line, I just got this from the 256. Listen, from the Big 12's perspective, Bob Bowlesby, last time he was on with us, or a couple of times ago, mentioned that never say never on expansion again. But here's a couple of things that have not changed. The college football expansion is still delayed. The Pac-12 TV network is still, there's nothing new there as well. There are so many things that are on hold or haven't had anything happen that the Big 12 needs to get to what they get to and who is involved, whether it's Texas and Oklahoma. And they have a new commissioner now that they're going to hire. And who knows what he may want to do based on the other presidents and ADs in the league.
I would think in succession of TV deals and college football playoff expansion, when those two things happen, then we could probably see another shuffle.
You can open up the blind.
Because now you know what you can really do or what's really going to benefit you. And as opposed to like right now, the Big 12 and all these other conferences that are shuffling around are doing so for survival purposes, as where if you have a 12-team playoff, that expansion might help you or hurt you depending on what really the rules are. But, yeah, I think they probably – once they know that, and then also giving some teams that you might have said, like, hey, here's how it worked out for these four. If you'd like to throw your hat in the ring, we don't have any obstacles in the way from listening now. So, here's what you need to do.
From Jeff Clausen, you guys interact as you want. Brigham Young may well have 11 Power Fives in their 2023 schedule, depending on what they do with Tennessee. That game, an Arkansas game, is still staying on the schedule. Great. Golly, that's great. And then it goes, there's always something that drops back to who should join the Big 12. And would Nebraska come back? No, they're making millions, even though they suck in football within the Big 10.
They're not coming back. Too much money. Too much money to turn back now. If the Big 12 was on par with the Big 10, which is not even close to, then, there would actually be something realistic there. But they're not going to – they have no guarantee going to the Big 12 they'd be any better. Right?
Yeah.
They have no guarantee that the record won't be the exact same that it's been in the Big Ten so far. It's not like they would just triumphantly walk in and just start running the conference and making bukus of money for championships and all of that. So, even that would be unclear. But, ultimately it's a no-go because, they're not leaving the Big Ten money, especially when it's about to jump up even more, and just continue to grow. So they're not leaving that security.
Of course, Memphis and USF and Boise State, a lot of names being brought up as well on the chat. That's pretty much it. There's a lot of discussion about facilities from ZS77. Facilities increase recruiting. Recruiting increases talent. Talent increases success. Success generates revenue. Revenue runs college athletics. It's all matters at the Power 5 level. There's no question about that.
It all goes back to money. Yep. Everything goes back to money. Everything in America goes back to money. Whatever the subject is, it goes back to money. That's just rule of life. Adopt that, know that, and everything else makes sense. Everything revolves around money in this country. Everything.
Fox is best positioned to make a big play for college football. We also, this is from Michael, need CBS to get back into college football and one or more of the streaming giants to get involved.
I don't think Fox is in that great of a position. They've been cutting bait on live sports here for a couple of years. They sold off the regional sports networks. They're kind of down. They sold a bunch of stuff off to Disney, which was also, assets that they could put sports on if they wanted to. So Fox, may seem like that, but look, they just lost their best NFL crew. They're not going out spending a bunch of money for sports right now at Fox. Even trying to save a little money on the NFL. They didn't fight to keep Aikman and Buck at all. They were just ready to let him go, and that's fine. But that's your number one crew. CBS, faced with that same thing 2 years ago, ponied up and kept them both, Nance and Romo. So I think CBS is much better. And look, who's Fox's big streaming arm? They don't have one. Okay, CBS has Paramount Plus. NBC has Peacock. Not to mention what Amazon and Apple TV could get into just for the benefit of more content, and it's not going to cost them all that much money in their grand scheme of things. So I don't think Fox is positioned to really do anything. I think they've been trying to tell everybody that they're kind of backing down to kind of a minimum.
They're doing USFL.
They're not going big on anything right now.
No, I can't imagine the price tag for the USFL stuff was that much. And I know there's various networks that are getting involved with all these new leagues. But, yeah, it does seem like Fox is retracting versus expanding. At least that's kind of the direction it's appeared now for a little while. So, you love everybody to throw their hat in the ring. I just don't know how realistic that is. I will say it's cool to turn on an Apple TV app and see MLB now on there, and you can watch Major League Baseball on Apple streaming, but we got the big Friday night game of the week and all that. It would be cool to turn that on and see, Big 12 stream or the Pac-12 stream or something like that. But, I think the hard thing right now is there's so much hope, and I don't know how all realistic it is. Mm-hmm. You hope Mac Rhodes and all these commissioners and athletic directors, they hope that Fox and CBS and NBC and ABC and MTV and HGTV, they want them all to get involved. They want Magnolia Network to carry football. But are they all going to do that? No. So how many options are really out there? And if there's, only so many options and those don't cover all of these teams, like who's going to be the one that has the bright idea of how to, change course and find a different path that maybe nobody else is thinking about right now? Because now the streaming path is not something that nobody's thinking about. It's what everybody's thinking about. Yeah. Everybody's thinking about the streaming arm of this. So, what other ideas are out there potentially? Maybe there aren't any others. I don't know, but there is a lot of hope right now.
All you need, you named a bunch, and if just a couple of them want to get involved, that helps. And you need a couple of them to get involved.
Craig, you did mention Magnolia, but I will say this. Discovery Plus and HBO Max are now one gigantic company and will eventually be one app. So I would maybe on the low end throw them in, even though that's not really what they do and what their wheelhouse is. But that app, also encapsulates Turner and all the different things that are on those networks. So there's a ton of options out there for college football conferences in every realm. So that's where it's going. But
what's the price tag?
Yeah.
You might get offered, but is it the money you think you were going to be offered by, another network potentially? I mean, if you were thinking, oh, well, we can get this ESPN deal. All right, well, ESPN fell through. If you were hoping for $100 million, let's say, okay, great that, the Magnolia Network or something or Discovery comes and offers, but what if it's $50 million? What if it's half of what, you know what I mean? Like that's where it gets even trickier.
And that's why the ACC is probably kicking themselves a little bit, but maybe that's why they signed the deal they did, or ESPN offered them, knowing that all right, well, we know that we're going to offer you this, and the best that somebody else is going to come to is this.
If they get stronger and better and whatever else, they can always renegotiate at some point, just like contracts are for players. They can do that for TV contracts. Although ESPN's not going to all of a sudden go, okay, yeah, we're going to let you off the hook. We mentioned West Virginia early today on a couple of occasions. One was JT Daniels, the transfer quarterback, who's been at USC, Georgia, now at West Virginia, where Graham Harrell is there as offensive coordinator. But also the news that we mentioned with Tony Caridi about the backyard brawl has been extended all the way from 22, 23, 24, 25, to 29, 30, and 31, and 32 after a long drought of about, 10 years or so. So that's good news for Pitt and West Virginia, some college football news. Now Nick Saban, and then we come back with John Machota.
Yeah, Nick Saban said today that he believes that NIL money should be split equally among the players on his team because he doesn't want to create a caste system. And he's been very candid about, yes, Alabama players probably made more money than most everybody else. Bryce Young made $1 million before his first start. He said all those things, and he said, we give everybody the same medical care, academic support, food service, and same scholarship. So if we're going to do this, then everybody's going to benefit equally. I'm not going to create a caste system on our team. And, let's see what else his other thing is. I don't think that what we're doing right now is a sustainable model. He said, adding that schools can basically buy players in recruiting these days. I mean, if that's what we want college football to be, I don't know. And again, I'll tell you, as many people might be mad at Saban for they think it's get off my lawn. This is another Saban warning saying,
throwing up a flare.
If you are going to buy players, my school will buy players. So if you want to, make a rule that, funnels this in a different way that makes it a little bit better, then we'll happily abide by that. But I'm going to take advantage of every rule because I'm Nick Saban, and that's what we do.
All right. Now there's talk. I don't know. Somebody said that somebody brought up Texas State joining the Big 12. That's not even on the radar. And hold on. And then somebody was saying something about that. No one ever said that. I'm not even sure where that came from on the chat room and why anyone would ever say that. We had Texas State's coach on, Jake Spavital, because it's part of the spring tour we're doing, and they're in the state of Texas, and they play Baylor later on this year.
But do you guys have any thoughts on on what Saban said about equal pay for the players across the board?
I think it's damage control, so he doesn't lose, his grip on players that they're dealing with, because they're dealing with the most high-profile guys of anybody in the country. And so I think that he's probably already seen some signs of how that can create cracks. And I think, too, he's having to juggle probably several millionaires all at once. I mean, I know Bryce Young's the only one we talk about, but I don't for one second believe he's the only one making hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah. I think there's probably several players on Alabama's roster before NIL was legal that were probably making hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I think he just sees the same thing we do. Like this, it's not sustainable. As much as we might enjoy it, as much as it might make it fun, as much as it's great that Jeff Traylor can go grab a running back that he wouldn't have been able to maybe do a few years ago. That's all great. But in terms of just the trajectory, how does nobody see the car crash coming? How do you not see the brick wall that's 100 yards away and the gas pedal's only going, down further? The speed's only increasing towards that brick wall because look, it's like Mac Rhodes said yesterday. This isn't a complaint about people getting paid. So if anybody who wants to try to turn to that, this is not what that is. This is just the talk of just what NIL is doing in terms of the teams and them being able to compete. Like Mac Rhodes said yesterday, there might be 10 or 12 schools that can actually go and just spend money like it doesn't matter.
Business, yep.
10 or 12. So if you want to enjoy that 10 or 12 college football league, or you want to enjoy your school going broke, trying to stay just competitive, much less win championships, then yeah, let's go balls to the wall with it. But, in 10 years, if there's schools that are completely shutting down athletics because they just can't sustain it anymore because it's become too much of free agency without rules, then that's going to suck. But, I guess if as long as the Blue Bloods get to continue playing, we don't really care. But, NIL wasn't as bad as it was made out to be by some people who just refuse to see players getting even a dime. It's not been that at all. But I do think you just hear these coaches talking like it's a level of stress they have to deal with, and that's fine. But like in terms of where they go 5-10 years from now, I don't know,
10
man.
years, I don't want to know what's going to be in 6 months.
Sure, whatever date you want to put on there. But I mean, point being, the future of spending money like this, it's just I don't see how it's going to continue to be able to work for more than 20 schools, maybe, if that.
All right, when we come back, John Machota covers the Cowboys, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man that you want to be, and possibly a few years ago or even last year you used to be. Here's what happens. Father Time takes over the male body, and 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone. It's part of that. It happens. You might not be that person. Someone else might be that you know. Testosterone gets lower as you get older. Not for everybody, but for enough. 1 out of 3 is 33%. Dr. Kent Petty will get you lab results, get you blood work. He'll waive the fee, look at your blood work, and if your testosterone levels are too low, put you in a program to increase them with a program that works. And here's how it works. You will then see your testosterone levels start to rise again. And along with that, your energy could get better. Your sleep habits get better and more productive, and your sex drive gets better. You see all these commercials now on television with all these pills that are supposed to help ED. Testosterone can be a part of that as well. Dr. Kent Petty, give him a call. Tell him I sent you. PettyClinicLowT.com.
It's Ram Truck Month at Allen Samuels, where you can get a new 2022 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lone Star with values up to $6,500, or get $3,000 bonus cash and 2.9% for 72 months. First responders get an extra $500. This year's incredible deals are at Allen Samuels in Waco. Take home power, performance, and reliability with your new 2022 Ram today.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with John Machota of The Athletic, brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
John Machota. TheAthletic.com covers the Cowboys. We got a lot to get to. John with us on Wednesdays in the 5 o'clock hour. John, I did see this tweet from you. If the Cowboys could have any of these defensive players at number 24 in the first round, who would you want? Jermaine Johnson, George Karlaftis, Jordan Davis, Devin Lloyd, Nakobe Dean. Who did you guys? Did you come up with a winner on the poll, or what did you and Bob Sturm decide to pick here?
So Bob and I both agreed on that if one of those edge rushers was there, you probably would go in that direction. I think it's a no-brainer. If Jermaine Johnson was there from Florida State, which I don't think there's any chance he'll even be at, 16, 17, 18, much less 24. But yeah, if Jermaine Johnson or George Karlaftis from Purdue are there, I think that has to be the pick. I'm not saying defensive end is their absolute biggest need. It's one of their needs. But it's just difficult to find really good edge rushers outside of the first round. And those are like kind of the last 2 out of that top 5 that have even any chance of being there at 24. You probably would have to even move up to get one of them. But I feel like either one of those guys, if they were there, that would be the pick for me.
John, I know Jerry Jones said that he'd be willing to trade up. Of course, it's draft season. You're kind of willing to do anything up, back, sideways, whatever. But do you think that the idea that the Cowboys could trade up is based in that this team is just not any better on paper than it was when they walked out the field against the 49ers, and they would seemingly have to do something if they really intend to build on 12 wins?
Yeah, I'll say this. When Jerry says that, we're out there for this blockchain announcement, and there was only maybe 2 or 3 football questions asked at the very end before the post game or the post event press conference was held, where he talked a little bit about football. But when I hear that from Jerry, I understand. I think Jerry does want to be aggressive because they didn't do much in free agency. But I also think Jerry was really interested in Johnny Manziel. And so what happened? The other people in the room talked him out of it. So I can see Jerry going into this draft, and there could be a couple guys that they really like a lot that are there. Let's say 19, 20. I don't see them when he says trade up. I don't see him going from 24 to 15. But say they move up, 5, 6 spots. I think he'll want to do it, but I think you'll have a Mike McCarthy, a Stephen Jones, a Will McClay, and maybe others say, yeah, I don't know if it's really worth going up there for that. Let's just sit and see what falls to us at 24. There could be even multiple players we like there, and somebody could offer us something to move back a little bit. I don't know that there's going to be somebody that just blows them away, that it's really worthy of trading up, the 4 or 5 spots. But if it's just up to Jerry, I could see him wanting to do that because they haven't done much in free agency. And he keeps saying ever since the season ended, he wants another Micah Parsons. Well, if you want another Micah Parsons, you're going to have to go pretty high in the draft to get a guy that can make that kind of impact. And that guy probably isn't going to be there at 24.
So, John, how much do you know about crypto?
Not much. I'll just be honest with you. I have some friends that are in it and have been for a couple of years now. And I just, I don't know. I'll probably end up getting involved eventually, but I'm a little late to the game on that. But that, that thing today doesn't surprise me. I mean, I know of what blockchain is before going into today, and then it just makes sense that if, they wanted to associate themselves with a sports team, there's no bigger, brand in sports than the Cowboys. So that totally makes sense. Obviously there's organizations that win more, but in terms of how big the brand is, if you want to be involved with just one, and their co-founder said it today. I mean, he asked around, he talked to, multiple people in sports, different people from different teams, all throughout sports. And, the name they kept hearing all the time was Dallas Cowboys. And that's a no-brainer. Anybody knows the Cowboys knows that if you're a brand, you're trying to get involved with the NFL, it makes sense to get involved with the Cowboys. I mean, in a way, I've said it to.
Hold on there.
Sorry, you got me?
Yeah, there you go.
Got you.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't necessarily mean like a recession, in the actual terms. I mean, the fact of the matter of that the Cowboys, they're not even, scratching the surface on a Super Bowl, and they still produce the type of income that teams that do compete for Super Bowls do. So yeah, being involved with the Cowboys, that's a good business investment.
I looked it up, blockchain.com, and can Texas residents even use crypto? You can sign up to crypto.com from every U.S. state apart from New York. However, you can't buy all the currencies everywhere. Is this even available? How does this work? I don't know. I'm like you.
Asked the most loaded question. It's the most complicated thing ever for this talk show to start talking about. Yeah.
No, but I will say there have been a couple people that have reached out to me on Twitter since this press conference saying, showing some screen grabs of them not being able to purchase it because they are in Texas. So that is a possibility. The other thing is that, Jerry was asked today about there's players that, the younger guys that you get in this league, the more that they're going to be into this type of thing. Mm-hmm. And we've already heard in sports of players talking about how they want a portion of their pay to be in cryptocurrency. Now, the NFL hasn't signed off on that yet, but that wouldn't surprise me if that's in the future. And so basically what this is, I don't see any major involvement from the Cowboys early on, but I think it's that they want to get in on it's not the ground floor, but on one of these lower floors. So if it does take off, like many project that it will, that they're involved with it.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be honest. I mean, is Jerry Jones and the Cowboys getting involved with this if it isn't making them money? I mean, Jerry's not doing anything if it's not making him money.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Just like he doesn't make decisions with the roster if it's not helping him win, which sometimes it doesn't work that way, but at least he's trying to help them win. All right, go ahead, Paul. Anything else?
John, you had the four different things to look at this week in the draft in your column on the Athletic, and one of them was taking a running back, not necessarily as a Zeke replacement right away, but you wouldn't be surprised to see them late take a running back who could blossom into that role?
I wouldn't, just because of the fifth-round picks that they have, with them having four of their 9 picks in that round. That seems like a round that, hey, maybe a running back they like that they think has some starter potential down the road. And maybe that guy ends up being somebody that they, bring in with one of those picks. And I'm not saying that, this player's going to be better than Tony Pollard, this player's going to be better than Zeke, but I just got a feeling that when the Cowboys move on from the Zeke contract, they're not going to be big spenders at running back anytime soon. I think that you look at it like Mike McCarthy. He found a guy like Aaron Jones in the 5th round. Like, I'm not saying that, he obviously took Eddie Lacy in the 2nd, and I'm not saying there's not going to be any significant investment in running back, but in terms of taking one high in the draft, I don't see the Cowboys doing that. So when they ultimately move on from Zeke, and it could be as early as next offseason, I think they do it in the draft, and I think they do it in, the middle rounds. And so maybe if you get a player that in the 5th round this year that you're like, man, this guy's got some potential, he could be a 3-down back for us, maybe that guy ends up being one of, if not the starter at running back in the years to come. And so I just keep an eye on that, because there's a lot of things, whether it be offensive line or wide receiver or defensive end, that we talk about in terms of their needs, or tight ends, obviously another one. Don't run out of the running back thing, because unless Zeke has this huge year this year, the way his contract is, just by what the Cowboys have done in the past year, you can certainly see moving on from it. If they were going to move on from Amari Cooper at $20 million, I could see them moving on from Ezekiel Elliott next offseason if he doesn't have put up a big year. And then Tony Pollard's in the last year of his rookie deal. And so, there's still a lot that Tony Pollard has to show. He hasn't shown yet that he can be your every down back for a full season. And so there's a lot of questions still at running back beyond this upcoming season. So who's to say that they don't take a guy in the 5th round that ends up being their future starter there?
Well, would you also predict that because they spent so much money on retaining Zeke, that Tony Pollard, no matter how well he does, might be allowed to walk a la DeMarco Murray?
It's tough to say it because DeMarco Murray had already, had a rushing title. I mean, no running back in Cowboys history has ever run for more yards in a single season than DeMarco Murray did. He, his asking price was going to be much higher than Tony Pollard. I don't see Tony Pollard commanding that type of investment. So I could see a possibility where they re-sign him and he's their back going forward. Absolutely. I could see him giving them not necessarily a team-friendly deal, but one that, hey, if you guys can match whatever my best offer is, and they're like, yeah, we'll do that. It's not going to be close to Zeke money, but yeah, I could see them paying Tony Pollard if he has a big year. But if he has a big year, if he stays healthy, if they move on from Zeke, just a lot of ifs.
One of the things he was asked about was that Deshaun Watson contract and how maybe fortunate the Cowboys were that they got theirs with Dak, even though some may argue until the death that it's too much. But it's not like Jerry hasn't pushed the envelope when he signed Dion back to that nearly $13 million deal, or Aikman to the long, 5 years, $50 million, whatever it was. But how lucky are they that Deshaun Watson's contract was after Dak signed his?
Well, yeah, no, they're fortunate in just on that one because of the fact that if he's getting all that guaranteed money and he has the off-the-field concerns, then that's just for any quarterback that's coming up. Every quarterback agent is going to use that contract now and be like, look at all the guaranteed money they gave this guy, and they still have things that have to be looked at off the field, and he got all this guaranteed money. So, no, it changes it for everyone that wants to pay a quarterback. The only thing I'll say with the Dak contract is like, yeah, of course, Jerry's glad that it got done, and you have a year of that, under your belt. But I mean, yeah, there's 3 years left on that deal. Like if Dak remains their starter at a high level, he's going to be back up for a contract in another couple of years too. And it's probably not going to be less for what he's making right now. It's probably going to be more. And so, when Dak's next contract comes up, if he's still playing well, they won't be comparing it to Deshaun Watson. There'll be 5-6 guys that'll, if not more, that have exceeded what Deshaun Watson's making right now. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure, yeah, they're happy to have it done, but they also would have been happy to get him at a little bit lower number than they got him at.
All right, John, thank you very much. John Machota, theathletic.com, covers the Cowboys in the NFL and joins us on Wednesdays in the 5 o'clock hour, 5:43. Paul's top 5 around the corner. I think we've hit pretty much everything from JT Daniels transferring to West Virginia to the West Virginia-Pittsburgh backyard brawl being extended, to the Clayton Kershaw had a perfect game through 7 innings, 6 runs, 6 outs away, through 80 pitches, and they pulled him. They won 7-1. Have I missed something? We kind of touched on the Nick Saban story and much more.
Yeah, by the way, I would have loved to see Clayton Kershaw throw a perfect game, but since I signed a blood oath never to criticize Dave Roberts since the Red Sox won the ALCS in 2004 and then subsequently the World Series because he stole the base, then I'm fine with it.
Then why do you have to bring it up then?
I'm just saying that nothing that Dave Roberts has ever done is wrong. From that moment on, he's made nothing but good decisions.
Has anyone signed Baker Mayfield yet?
No, I mean, he's still under contract. He's sitting there waiting. He did an interview today saying he feels, he's, kind of stuck in the middle here, and he's upset and doesn't feel that the Browns treated him right. But, I'm not sure what the Browns owed him necessarily other than, the money they will or whatever happens when they trade him or release him. So,
okay.
But, yeah, he's just going to sit there and wait. I would think that he probably gets traded during the draft after the first wave of quarterbacks
go.
Yeah,
he's not going to be in Cleveland. You can't imagine.
No,
although,
but
isn't he an insurance policy because of what could happen to Sean
Can't
Watson?
spend that much money on 2 quarterbacks.
Yeah. I don't think so.
That's 2 starting salaries. You can't afford that.
That's why they brought in Tyrod Taylor to Cleveland or whoever it was. Was it Tyrod Taylor? But yeah, they brought in somebody to start.
So. What would you think Baker Mayfield's going to just sit there behind Deshaun Watson at this point and just be happy and can cash his check? I mean, no, he wants out. He made it very clear today.
So is he going to hold out? Does he hold out and lose money and no one wants him? I mean,
I wouldn't think. Well, Seattle's a team that's at least being talked about. I don't know what Seattle's interest actually is. I haven't gone and deep dived on that, but that's a team he's mentioned, and it's a team that makes sense. But no, he's not going to ride the pine behind Deshaun Watson this year. It'd be too much money, and it just wouldn't make sense because Baker wouldn't want to do that. I mean, who would want to do that? I wouldn't want to do that. And, if you want your money, I get that, but it's the NFL. These guys strong arm their way out of teams all the time. So the Browns clearly don't want him. He doesn't want them. Why would they try to make it happen? That
especially
makes no
when
sense.
they can get an asset for him during the draft. And I would say, in this early second round, when that first wave of quarterbacks is gone, and look, maybe even before then, because, nobody's really blowing anybody's skirt up at the quarterback, position this year.
You mean to tell me you're talking about if the first round somebody would make a trade for Baker Mayfield?
After that. Okay. After that's over. They're not going to trade a first-round pick for Baker Mayfield. Nobody's going to do that. But I would see that, after the first round's over, into the second day of the draft, or maybe the end of the first day, when everybody's kind of done and you see where the quarterbacks, who's still out there and what's going on, that if a team doesn't go, okay, well, maybe it is Seattle. Maybe we'll go get Baker Mayfield now.
Is it better if quarterbacks are drafted 1 or 2 in the first round, or worse for him?
I don't think it matters.
I
don't think it matters. I think it just matters who drafts them where, or who drafts them in that first round to set his market. So,
Is he better than Carson Wentz?
I think so.
Yeah.
I do too. And that's what's weird, is that they have Carson Wentz and they could have had Baker Mayfield.
Well, okay, I will posit this, though. Carson Wentz is a guy who can't really buck the system right now and say too many bad things about his organization. As for Baker Mayfield, if he walks in Washington, if you're Washington right now, do you want the guy who has no filter and doesn't care walking around going, what is going on here?
Yeah, no,
I would also say, I'm sure Baker Mayfield will go play anywhere, but would he want to go to Washington? Would that be his first choice? That wouldn't be mine. Wouldn't be probably my top 20. Probably
top 31.
Might actually be 31 or 32, quite frankly. So, yeah.
All right. 5:48, we'll have Paul's top 5 coming up around the corner. There's a couple of NBA, what they call these play-in games. Charlotte at Atlanta. San Antonio, the Spurs, after the Lakers tanked it when LeBron quit on his team at New Orleans. Those 2 games are tonight.
He was hurt, Smokey.
I'm just glad he's going to be able to, get a good coach for once. That's all. All he needs is just a coaching change.
I saw where Frank Vogel gets fired, and LeBron. One of the responses, he has no decision making in this.
Yeah,
shut up.
It's that's
idiot.
the front office.
LeBron, you're an quad cab with total values up to $6,500, or get $3,000 in bonus cash and 2.9% financing for 72 months. Also, the 2022 Wagoneer Series 2 and 3, 2.9% for 72 months, plus a $3,000 bonus cash. First responders on either of the vehicles, the quad cab and or the Wagoneer Series, $500 in extra savings. Also, they have what you need. The lot is, it's not completely full, but you look around and a lot of lots are very, very empty or spacious, not much there. Sparse. Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat has cars, trucks, and SUVs for you. The Ram truck, back to back to back. Motor Trend Truck of the Year, Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite
favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrapped fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full-service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs, Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Erie Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show. Whether necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financials, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Top 5 SEC East spring football questions. Since I did the SEC West yesterday, we'll do the SEC East today. Number 5, can Mark Stoops keep Kentucky moving forward? This is a team that took huge steps forward last year. Look, they beat Florida for the first time in a long time, and they really look good doing it, but they lost. Like Wan'Dale Robinson, their fantastic wide receiver, he's in the NFL draft now. Does he have enough people in the pipeline for Kentucky to, again, they're not going to challenge Georgia for the conference crown, but can they still beat Tennessee? Can they beat Florida again? Can they be, in contention for second in the SEC East, so to speak? I think they'd like to say they are, but I don't know that.
He's got a little program.
I like Mark Stoops. I like him a lot.
He's done a nice job building that. Kind of like reminds me of, nothing flashy, although they're doing well with the UI, with the ability to give money to recruits or players. I like the way he's built that. It's not a house of straw.
Yeah. No, it's not. Will Levis is back. I mean, that gives him a good start. Anytime you have your quarterback back, and yeah, he's built a really nice program. I don't know what takes him ultimately in making that leap from like middle of the pack to being able to contend with the Georgias and I don't even know if that's possible, quite frankly. But,
yeah.
I mean, very respectable place they're in right now, that's for sure.
Yeah. Number 4, can Spencer Rattler make South Carolina a factor? Now, before, everybody sells on Spencer Rattler, remember that at the end of the, 2020 season, everybody's like, man, this guy could be the first pick in the draft. And then for whatever reasons, chief among them and probably Spencer Rattler's overall attitude at the time, but he kind of hit the wall, and then Caleb Williams was a phenom behind him. Now they're both gone from Oklahoma, as is Lincoln Riley, but Spencer Rattler was the highest thought of player in the country for a long time, and I would think that he's going to improve them. Now, to what level maybe Spencer Rattler's hit his peak, and we don't know that, but I still think they're going to be better with him back behind center, because they have not had a quarterback of even Spencer Rattler's caliber, maybe ever, at South Carolina.
I don't know about some of the history of the other quarterbacks. There's a name or two that just escapes me right now. you would think if he was who he was supposed to be out of high school, which we saw that at OU, that he would have some pride in making sure he's done everything the way it's supposed to be done, no matter what he's getting, and go back and prove what kind of player he is. Because his goals are not to play at South Carolina. His goals are to play in the NFL. And he's going to have that. They will. You talk about red flags, he'll have a few of them.
Can he? Yeah. Will he? I don't know. Obviously, that's the question everybody has. Should he? Absolutely. They put on a big pitch for him, and, he was a pretty highly coveted guy that a lot of teams would have liked to have had. So, South Carolina won that race, and, they better hope so. That was the whole point in pursuing him, was to try and milk out some of this five-star talent and, put him on that NFL path. And I do think having, the connection with Beamer already should definitely help them. Brought in did they bring in
tight end? Who was
Calcaterra?
No. Was it Calcaterra? He was at SMU, right?
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. It's hard to keep up with everything. But, that wasn't their only OU addition. So Beamer, that's the connection there. But, yeah, he should. He better. That's what we're expecting of Spencer Rattler. Otherwise, this whole entire thing has just been one big sham, talking about him the way that we have, to really see absolutely nothing really in the long run.
Yeah. Saw him start to get there at the end of 2020 and think, oh, man, this guy's... And then 2021, you sign one Raising Cane's deal and all of a sudden the wheels fall off. And I don't know if that's the reason, but it was just weird. Everything that happened with Spencer Rattler last year was weird. Number 3, are the Vols finally ready to improve? Year 2 under Josh Heupel, they looked like they made some strides. Last year, of course, when Josh Heupel went there, and I do think this, outside of a couple of guys that were really good, I think he shoved a lot of those guys into the portal, so to speak. Basically told them, like, hey, you can come back or not, your choice, or not. Just go ahead and...
How many percentage of those who enter the portal are because of that? That sometimes the reason it's filled is because coaches are fed up with the players, too.
Yeah. Well, there's a women's basketball coach that was just hired. I forget where. I saw it like last week or something, who told the entire team upon arriving that they're gone. Like, just clean the entire house. And I don't remember what level or whatever it was. It caused a little to-do. But, yeah, some of this is coaches as well, seeing guys that aren't fits or cancers in the locker room or whatever, and, pushing them or shoving them in the direction of, go ahead and do us a favor here.
But guess what? As far as Tennessee over the last nearly 20 years goes, it kind of worked. This was the most exciting Tennessee football's been in a very long time. So it kind of worked, and if he can continue to build, are they ready to do it 2 years in a row? Because there have been plenty of coaches that have come and gone from Tennessee that in the short term, in the first year, think like, oh, okay, well, that looks like something, and then ultimately they, are in the graveyard with all the rest of them and moving on. So, I'm kind of in a Josh Heupel fan club. I hope that he can do something there at Tennessee, because
they look like a football team.
Yeah.
They look like a football team. That doesn't mean they were a good football team, but they were at least
I think it's good for television on college football and college football in general that the 100,000 seat stadiums are people who are happy about what's going on. Yeah. I think that's good. Number 2, can Billy Napier make an impact immediately at Florida? This was, Dan Mullen was a good coach, but he wasn't getting the top talent, because you could kind of see that he wasn't, really buying into the kind of recruiting you have to do now. And I think Dan Mullen is probably kind of veering his way to the NFL, where you don't have to do that stuff. And Billy Napier, here's a guy with a ton of energy, a ton of experience in the SEC before, and maybe an attitude they haven't had at Florida in a while.
I think he makes an immediate impact.
I do too. I think they're going to be really good.
I don't know how. Yeah,
they have good players. They don't have Georgia level players yet, but they have good players.
No nonsense, doesn't give two blanks about anything other than winning football games, and I think he'll tighten up that ship, and that right there is probably worth at least a couple of wins.
Yeah, should be. That's one of those schools that really has no excuse. Like when it comes to, they've fallen behind the facilities, and they have more money than God, and nobody can figure out how they did that. But, they have no excuse for anything. And number 1, can anyone really challenge Georgia? Probably not this year, but we'll see. This is a team that looks pretty loaded for bear in Athens. But, that's the thing. You're kind of playing for second right now, but can somebody knock them off? Maybe, but it's going to be tough.
What they did was not a fluke by any means. What they did is a slow, methodical rise to being able to not only beat Alabama, but also sustain it And now we'll find out they're there. Can they stay there? It's a lot easier sometimes to get there than to keep it. And they're loaded. You're right. Absolutely. Daniel just put Grambling State on the chat room about the women's basketball coach.
Thank
He just
you.
cleared everything out, Daniel.
Couldn't remember who it was, but I remember reading about that and all the uproar over her basically just, hey, team gone by. I'm starting over from scratch. So, yeah, it's not always the players making the decisions.
Levi Caraway, Emery Winter, both here. Jack McKenzie here as well. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak. Thanks to you on the chat room, the text, and much more. Tomorrow, we're working on that show and that lineup. We'll tell you about that sometime by mid-morning. Again, thank you. Our sponsors every single day, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Good night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.